3, 2, 1. Alright, welcome to the Wow Look at Me Now podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Precision Detailing, owned and operated by Justin Coball in Rochester, Minnesota. You can contact them at 507-358-3770. You can also find them on Facebook at Precision Detailing LLC. This is going to be a rundown episode featuring the Magic Man and the Prodigy. Alright, we're on.
We're here.
We're here, yeah. A little different podcast, a little different start out.
Not actually talk about fights today.
No, yeah, today's gonna be a little bit of a different podcast for everybody. So just so everybody kind of knows what's going on, we're gonna do.
Get to know the producer.
Yeah, we're gonna actually get to know me a little bit. We're gonna switch reins a little bit. Instead of me interviewing people, we're gonna actually do Jay Paulson's gonna interview me. And so what we're gonna do is, we'll do it just like we usually do podcasts. We'll talk about where I'm from, what got me into MMA, how it helped me, and a lot of stuff of the trials and tribulations of my life and why I wanted to kind of get this podcast out and kind of get my name out and my story out. So without further ado, we'll just kind of let Jay Paulson start it, and we'll jump into this.
Alright, so let's get started. Last time we did a podcast together, you were talking about Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon.
I'd like to get a little backstory on all this stuff.
So, I was born in Newburgh, Oregon, 1990. It's actually, like I told you, the same hospital as Paige Van Zandt. So, for UFC fighters, you know her. Yeah, same hospital and everything. But, so I grew up in Newburgh, grew up in McMinnville, Oregon, most of my life. It was, it was a lot of moving around and stuff, low income houses. My dad, growing up, he had a drug addiction, kind of was in and out of jail, started fighting and different stuff in life. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit later about him and his life and kind of how that happened. But, that kind of made it a bit of a struggle for us. And when we were growing up and having to move a lot and, unfortunately not being able to pay bills and all that stuff. And my mom always was working, 2-3 jobs to keep us there. But
Keep you afloat.
At the same time, it just sometimes wasn't enough. And so I know that we moved around a lot, and we actually moved to Washington for a year. So my whole first grade year was spent in Washington, and then we moved back to Oregon. My dad had some trouble, some stuff he was trying to get out of or something, so we ended up moving back. And so we lived in McMinnville then from first grade up until 5th grade, and then I moved to Minnesota. But there it was still a lot of trouble. We lived in a trailer park, and it wasn't really the best neighborhood. Like it wasn't horrible, and people definitely have like worse where there's gun violence and stuff like that. We didn't really have any of that, but at the same time it was a lot of
redneck village.
Yeah, kind of. And where we grew up, there was 30 trailers, and 10 of those trailers were white families. The others were either mixed or Mexican, and nobody spoke English.
There's a lot of tribe up there too, right?
Yeah. And so it was a lot of and not so much where I am, but there was a lot of that in Oregon. But where I was again with Winville wasn't that. But it was just one of those those low income, and we live in a trailer park where most of my family lived. Like my grandma lived in the trailer next to us. Like we had a field in between my trailer and my grandma's trailer, and then my aunt lived right across the street from her.
So is that where like your family's from?
Well, originally my mom and dad, they were both born in California. My dad was, I want to say, somewhere in California, but my mom I know was like San Bernardino. Okay. And so then they ended up like moving and getting to Oregon, and I'm not exactly how all that worked. But I know that my mom's family's originally from this area, she's from Illinois, Minnesota.
So that's
area.
what eventually brought you back.
Yeah, it was them. And my mom's sister, actually her husband's from Lake City, and that's where we moved to when from Oregon. But living in Oregon again, it was we had a lot of trials and tribulations. My mom worked a lot. My dad, unfortunately, when we were, I want to say it was 5 or 6, he ended up working on a construction site, and he was they were doing a pool or a basement, and I think it was a basement, and they were bringing in rebarb, and the big rebarb the truck came down too far and started sliding, and they stopped. The rebarb came off when he went to catch it, and all the weight just went down and twisted his knee, and it popped his knee, and he ended up having to have, I want to say 5 knee surgeries or something. A bunch of them just didn't take, it just didn't sit right, and
like this would have been early 90s when nobody knew what they were doing still.
Yep, and they were just feeding him pain pills, and again,
is that what led to the addiction?
That's what his addiction was mainly pain pills. And again, he was a guy that he did do drugs and this and that growing up and stuff, and I know that his uncles, and you know, and I'm not really gonna say anything too bad about anybody or be disrespectful about it, but just the reality is they had a lot of drug issues in their family and a lot of stuff that, and him growing up was around a lot of drugs and a lot of drug issues, so. You know, he already was kind of.
He didn't need the push.
Yeah, he was already there and kind of destined for. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where he was a product of his environment. You know, and again, not saying anything bad about any of those people because again, they were the same exact thing. They didn't know any better, and that's just kind of where they were at. And it happens to a lot of people in a lot of families. You know, and so it's one of the things when I was growing up, I kind of was bitter about. But then as I get older, and I realized like I'm the same age my dad was. You know, around the same time he was really starting to have this addiction or having kids and. I remember what it was like not having addiction, still trying to figure out what my, who I am or what I was going through and being with positive depression. I couldn't imagine being somebody like him who had so much trials and tribulations early in his life and a drug addiction that kind of just spun out of control. You know, then he had to get multiple knee surgeries and
just all those frustrations.
And again, they were just handing him pain pills and pain pills and pain pills. And again, he was a guy who liked to get fucked up. You know, it's just one of those guys. And just from a young age, that's kind of something that was, again, like kind of bred into him, or was kind of genetically into him. And I remember at a young age, he always told me I had an addictive personality to make sure I stayed away from drugs and stuff like that. And I think he was just kind of forewarned me to.
Is that kind of what led to your sobriety now?
Yeah, definitely. And again, I've.
So with all that negative, kind of did a positive for you after all the bullshit.
And I said that too in the Damien thing, like a lot of the fighting and stuff like that. Like there was definitely a lot of negativity that happened, but again, he was a guy trying to find himself, didn't know, he was lost, and it seems like. From the stories I get that he was lost his whole life and didn't really know who he was or how to find himself or any of that stuff. And he was a big, strong fucking man, but at the end of the day, deep inside he was a lost person. And I think that he didn't really have time or get. And again, in the '90s, nobody knew about any of this like depression or any of that shit, bipolar and that stuff.
And it was
I'm sure he
put
had
in the closet and nobody ever fucking talked about it.
And he was 6'4", 310 when he passed away. I mean, so most of his life he was 250, 6'4", big giant guy who. Didn't really speak about his weakness, and growing up again, his dad and his uncles and everybody were people that didn't really like that weakness or kind of would call you out. And back then, you're a bitch or you're a pussy or you're a punk or something, and that was something that he kind of grew up, and it kind of rubbed off on me too. As I don't want to be disrespected, and I kind of get that same way, so I can get feisty as well. So
no, later when we talk about the sparring and stuff, I got some stories. So.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's one of those things too, man. It's like once it clicks, it clicks. But,
yep.
Goddamn, where were we at? What were we talking about again?
You were talking about
Oregon,
addiction.
yeah. So Oregon. So and then the whole time while he was kind of battling his addiction, my mom was
trying to pick up the slack.
Exactly, and I mean I remember times where she bought me a bike for Christmas, me and my sister bikes for Christmas, and that's what we wanted. And she worked 4 jobs, and there was 2 months before Christmas where we didn't even really see my mom. Right. She would just work, and she'd go from one job to the next job, and she was doing CNA work, and I mean it's not easy, working at 4 different places doing CNA work all fucking day long, like. I mean,
just the shit you see there,
Yeah, she was working 7 days a week. I mean, probably 2 jobs each day, but every weekend, she was gone. And so
clarify for me, just because I don't know. Yeah. That's CNA. That's like a nurse, or is that like a assisted living nurse?
Yeah, it's like she would work in like nursing homes and shit like that. Yeah, and so in different places all over. And, so she was driving 20 minutes from one job to get direct to the next job, and and who knows if she ate, how many nights she didn't eat, with her kids and shit that she made sure we fed, and that she probably wouldn't say nowadays, but I know that she went through a lot of fucking sacrifices for us, and that's why I'm always so thankful for her. And every time I try to, every time I'd fight or I'd talk or anything like that stuff, it's like my mom's, my family, and whenever we meet family, it's my mom, because she's the one that's always been there for me and really been the support behind everything. And again, when we were growing up, she was always working, 3 or 4 jobs to give me and my sister whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, and it was one of those things that growing up too. On top of my dad's addiction and my mom having to work all the time, I was a kid that had severe ADHD. At 3 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and so from 3 years old up until 15 years old, I was taking prescription medications for that. Adderall, which Adderall really didn't sit well with me. I remember I got rage issues for that, and it made me want to try to kill myself and shit. Yeah. So then I was taking Adderall, and I had to go to a therapist at some point because I was trying to kill myself. And so they took me to a therapist thinking that I was like bipolar or whatever, but it ended up being it was the pills.
The medication was just having this bad effect.
So they switched me onto some other stuff called Dexedrine. But when I was when I first was diagnosed, they put me on. And I remember Dr. Monka. I don't know if she's alive or not, but I remember that name. It was sticking in the back of my head for the rest of my life. But she was giving me Ritalin, and I was like 3 to 5 years old, and she was giving me like 80 milligrams of Ritalin, which
is a zombie.
Yeah, I mean bags under my eyes, and there's pictures like I've been trying to find them forever, but I don't know where they are. They're somewhere in my mom's house, but where I just like literally just like that's my school picture. Like it's just me that like half asleep, like not even a real fucking person, you know. So it makes sense that I was having, you know, learning disorders and problems with that shit when I wasn't even a fucking cognitive person or functioning, you know, right? And so up until, like I said, from 3 to 15, I was on medication, and it was one of those things where I remember I got kicked out of the bowling alley. Like, we used to go bowling as a family. We used to do like family leagues. My family would, like, my parents would do like.
And this is still as a child in Oregon.
Yeah, this was in Oregon. Yeah, I was 3, 4, 5 years old right around this time, and when I was first get diagnosed and kind of really out of control, and there was a lot of times where, you know, it was really hard for my parents to handle that, and I'm sure that wasn't easy again on my dad and my mom and stuff, and with them working so much, and my dad always, you know, having his struggles, and even before, like, I started turning you know, 5, 6 years old, I was having a lot of struggles and being crazy. I ripped shit off the wall again, like we were going bowling. I'll go back to that story. And I used to be like the babysitter at the bowling alley, and so I would go in there all the time. But one day I decided I didn't want to fucking be in there, and so I fucking attacked and bit the fucking lady that was the lady that watched us. And so she came out freaking out, crying, her arm was bleeding and shit. And like,
oh, so you dug in a little bit.
I fucking
Vampire Ryan.
Yeah, I was a horrible kid. And I got some more stories I'll tell you right after this one. But yeah, so she came out like, no, we'll never watch him again. Like, you can't, you know. And so we ended up, like, as a family, I'm pretty sure they had to stop bowling.
Yeah.
Because of my bullshit. And again, I mean, that wasn't easy for anybody. You know, you had to stop bringing your kid around family activities and shit like that. And I remember that they ended up, like, after this point, they started trying to get us babysitters so they could go bowling. So they kept trying to do it. But they ended up getting a babysitter. So I was 4, my sister was probably 7, and the babysitter was probably 16, something, you know, 17. And I remember I got a knife out of the fucking kitchen. And I don't, like, remember why, but I just remember, like, them telling this story, so I don't even know if I vaguely remember. I just remember them kind of.
You just remember the story.
Yeah, and I remember that they were telling me that I was chasing this lady around with a butcher knife, and then her and she locked her and my sister in the bathroom and called like, with the phone. I had to call my parents and fucking. This was before cell phones, so she had to use, like, the landline.
Yeah, so she's
like,
calling the bowling alley, trying to get the guy to find you.
Yeah, page my parents, like, fucking, and so it was a big ordeal. And then I remember, you know, a couple of different times, like, they went to, like, Monster Jam, same thing happened. I fucking would attack shit, break shit, slam fucking shit through the windows. There's so many different times.
Child.
Yeah, I'd literally, like, I would run, and they used to have, like, the old school curtains. I would run from one side of the couch to the curtains and swing off and try to be like Tarzan and just rip it down.
So you were George of the Jungle?
Yeah, I was just, dude, I fucked up so much shit. Like, I told a story about Damon Hill about how I broke all my sister's fucking porcelain shit, and she stabbed me. Like, I had that shit coming, dude. Like, I was just a wild child. And, again, like, my mom,
but those porcelain dolls creep the fuck out of me, so I'm okay with that one.
Me too. Maybe subconsciously I was like, fuck this, get it out of the house. We've seen that Master Puppets, fuck this. No, but so, you know, growing up, I just had a lot of struggles, and I had a lot of hard time controlling myself, and I got in a lot of fights because of it. And it was one of those things that I had ADHD, and it kind of turned into, like, frustration turned into rage because I wasn't learning right. I couldn't get stuff out right, and I couldn't talk to people the right way, and so people started making fun of me. And I mean, I was always, you know, again, my dad fought, and he growing up, you know, I see my dad fight a lot, and it's nothing that I even think that is bad. Like, I think growing up and watching him beat people up and getting in fights and getting
natural. It's that environment.
It's one of those things, yeah. And I know a lot of motherfuckers that are roughnecks that tell the same kind of stories, like growing up, you know, seeing their parents, or, you know, getting into it, or older brothers or uncles, or, you know what I mean. And I've seen all that shit. Like, I've seen everything, and which to me it always seemed natural. So when I tell those stories, I don't tell them like, oh man, like, my dad just beat. It's like, no, dude, my dad just beat people up, and I got into fighting because of it. And now all those trials and tribulations, seeing all that shit, turned me into who I am today.
Right.
And so when I tell these stories and I tell all this stuff about people, like, I never. Sometimes it might come out weird. Like, again, I was telling you, like when I was telling the Damon story, I was like, my dad was a drug addict in and out of my life most of his life, but I didn't really get to tell the story. I just got to tell a little bit, a little bit of it, but I didn't really get to tell the struggle. And again, he was a young guy, 24, 25, had a drug addiction, you know, grew up rough, got beat by his dad a lot, you know. I mean, like, there's a lot of bad things that happened to my dad that he couldn't
control himself.
And his way out, which is a lot of people's way out when they go through a lot of shit, is drugs, alcohol, you know. It was one of those things that he just unfortunately got into that lifestyle. Again, his uncles, his family, everybody was around him was in that lifestyle or had been in that lifestyle, had something else. So it's just one of those things, again, where you're a product of your environment.
Once you get stuck in that rut, it's hard to find your way out.
Yep. And so when I tell these stories, like, in and out of my life, you know, in and out of jail and stuff, I mean, it was stuff that, you know, yeah, maybe he could have overcame, but at the same time, he wasn't, like, as lucky as I am, where at this young age where I was, you know, going through a bunch of shit. I had MMA, I had coaches, I had family.
You had your
people
outlets.
that were there that helped me and kept me grounded and kind of, you know, let me get my therapy out or whatever it was. As to where he didn't have that, he had it so balled up inside of him, and I can tell that from what I knew about him and the anger issues and stuff like that. Now growing up and kind of studying a lot of that stuff, it was a lot of built up rage from shit that he didn't get out from.
So to kind of backtrack just a little bit, so like when you were in Oregon or even here in Minnesota, when your mom was at work, was he at home? Was he gone?
A lot of the time he was gone.
Just
like
you didn't know.
I had a stand up bit when I was doing stand up for a little bit about how like my dad was a good guy, but he was like very forgetful. And one time this is a true story, 100% true story. I asked him I asked my mom if we could do chocolate milk. Like, we were out of chocolate milk, I wanted chocolate milk, whatever. I was a crazy kid, so obviously I started making a fucking fit.
Give me my goddamn chocolate milk.
My dad seeing a little out, and again, my dad wasn't a bad guy, but at the same time, he was so lost and didn't know where to be, and the drugs had so much a hold of him at some point that he didn't know what to do. And a lot of times when he couldn't do the pain pills, he'd turn to other drugs and go on benders and stuff like that. And again, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I just know he was lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sucks. And if I was an adult and I could have talked to him, I would have been there to help him. But again, he didn't have that or have any outlet to help him. So again, he'd go on benders and again, it's like any person who's addicted to drugs. They just show up one day and then they're gone. You know what I mean? And so for him, it was like, can we get chocolate milk? My mom was like, I don't have time, whatever, I get ready for work, blah, blah, blah. My dad was like, I'll go. She's like, no, I don't think you should go. He ended up going and he come back for 2 months.
Yeah.
Didn't bring back the chocolate milk after 2 months. Like, he had 2 months to get chocolate milk. He could have at least got
the chocolate. You had one job, man.
Like, you could have got the chocolate milk, but came back, and like I said, came back 2 months later, like 30 pounds lighter, like, she's finally, now he's trying to get himself back together, finally came into grip with reality, whatever it is, and, and in and of my life, it was like that, or he would, skip bail, something, kick out of drugs, something, go to jail, something, whatever it was. And again, I was young, so I just remember in and out, and there was times where he was in jail, and we'd go visit him, like, on work release. They'd bring the buses in, and we'd park there, they'd bring the buses in, and all the guys from work release, before they go in, they give them all 5 minutes to talk to their family, whatever, and we'd go there and meet him. And then I remember, like, my sister rescued a cat one time. And because the trailer park was all full of Mexicans, and the Mexicans were crazy, man. They were straight from Mexico. Like, a lot of them were fucking wild.
Probably
getting
all
drunk.
illegal.
Yeah, getting drunk, throwing shit, fighting, and one of them ended up having a cat that had kittens, and they were running over the kittens with their car. They were putting them over under the tire and running them over. And so we fucking figured it out and found out and saw them doing this, and so we fucking went down and stole the rest of the cats from them. And so we stole like 4 or 5 cats, and we ended up get rid of a couple of the cats, and then we ended up having to keep a couple of them. So we went. And my dad was in jail at the time because he would call us all the time, and every night, he'd call. Everybody get a chance to talk to him 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. They got like a half hour to talk to you, so everybody got 10 minutes, whatever.
Right.
And so we went to work release one day, and my sister had a cat, and he's like, "What the fuck is that?" He's like, "It's a cat. Can we keep it?" Told the story. And she's like, "No, fuck it. All right." My sister's like, "Please, can we keep it?" She's like, "Oh my god, I want to keep it. I want to keep it." Like, okay, whatever, you can keep it. So he was one of those guys who was big and tough, and he was like, "We can't have an animal." And he gets the animal, I was like, "Pet." And he's like, "All right, you can keep it. Yeah, you can keep it." And so and so in and out of my, and back then, like, when I think about it too, and the family and the people that we were around, like, that seemed like normality. Like, that was what life was.
This is what the world's like.
Yeah, and not everybody's dad's in jail, or not everybody's dad, but some dads go to jail, some dads work, some dads, it's just the way the world is. And I kind of learned that at a young age, and I was so wrapped up around my dad's part of his family, because again, like, we lived here, there was a little bit of a fucking, like, a gap of where, like, a little, like, field was, and then maybe 20 yards of a field, and then my grandparents' house.
So just basically an empty lot.
And then right here, yeah, basically an empty lot. And then my grandparents, and then right across, like, the street, which was just like any other little trailer park, like 5-6 feet, whatever long, and my aunt's house was right there. So, like, we were home alone, but we weren't really home alone. Like, they could always watch us, and they'd always check on us. We'd always go back, like, every hour or whatever it was at the time and check in, and then we'd be home in our house or one of our grandparents or the aunt's house by when lights came on. It was our curfew. So, like, we were always watched, but we weren't really watched, So, so I say, like, we grew up rough. It was kind of rough, but, like, it was just rough because we were young kids who grew up and didn't really have our parents there, and we were moving around, and it was hard to, like, I remember moving. I think my sister said we moved to, like, 26 or 28 different houses or some shit when we were kids. Like, that was just in Oregon before we even moved to Minnesota. And then Minnesota, maybe 10, 15 houses on top of that. Again, it was just struggle bus, man, struggle bus. And being a single parent, it was really hard on my mom. And majority of my life, she really was a single parent. And especially after 14, when I lost my dad, she's been a single parent since then. Luckily, she had a business, and she kind of did very well for herself, and kind of knew that she had to step up her game and figure it out on her own. And again, and again, when we moved from Oregon to Minnesota, the first couple of years were rough with him, and he went back for about 6 months back to Oregon with his family and stuff, and then decided he wanted to come back and live with us. And So then after that, it got better, you know, with him. But again, he always had the painkiller addiction, and so it was always a struggle, always a struggle. And when you're kind of growing up, you see a guy who, like, to me was invincible. Nobody could hurt this guy, you know, nothing could hurt this guy. But you slowly started seeing the addiction creep in on him and start like messing with his mental like toughness, and you start starting to see like signs of bipolar and stuff like this. And it was just one of those things. Growing up as a kid, it seemed normal to me. You know, now that I tell those stories, I think people are like, "Oh my God, dude, like, that was so bad." But to me, it made me who I am.
Yeah.
And if you get to sit down and talk to me and see who I am as a person, like, you realize all the shit that I went through was
That's why you're so calm and collective, right?
yeah, form me into a person. But there's definitely times where I can wig the fuck out. Like I was telling Damien, I didn't really get to finish this, and I feel bad because if my sister sees it, she's like, "What the fuck? You make me seem like a psycho." But she got more of that from my dad, is where she's a little more reserved. She doesn't really let people in, you know. And she's like, "I got this wall up, you know. And if you break down this wall, like, cool, we're gonna be good. But it takes a long time to get into there." And she's one of those people that if you fuck with her, you disrespect her, you know, she's gonna flip that switch, and she's not afraid to just give it to somebody and beat the fuck out of somebody. And again, that's something that growing up we were like that. And before I started fighting in martial arts and shit like that, I was the same exact way.
Yep.
And so, like, if I didn't do training or anything like that, I'd be that guy. You know,
Yeah,
I
you
would
found
not
your
go
outlet
take
to-
shit, you know what I mean? And I still don't. I still don't let people disrespect me, but now people kind of know who I am and know kind of what I represent. Like, you know, like, even though I'm a teacher and I do all this shit, like, if you disrespect me and it gets to a certain level, you put your hands on me, I'm gonna fucking hurt you. Like, I'm not going out to hurt in a way, or, you know, out of my way to hurt people or do any of that, but it comes down to it. Like, I will.
When push
fucking
comes to
smack you.
shove.
Yeah, exactly. And I've never, and I'm one of those guys that I know my boundaries. I know where to go, where not to go. I know what situations to put myself in, what situations I shouldn't put myself in, and how I should carry myself in certain situations or not. You know, like, I don't go to the bar. I don't drink. I don't do any of that stuff because I've been to the bar. I've been drunk. I've slapped that guy. I've walked across the street to get in that guy's face for no reason when he wasn't even talking to me, but he was talking to the group we're in. But you're talking to the group. I'm in it. That counts as me. Okay.
Right.
You know, and I've been that young, dumb guy. Even when I was fighting and training, you know, I was still that guy to where I had that ego and I wanted to prove it. And I realized the other day, too, is like my jiu-jitsu journey is kind of going on and it's kind of getting off track, but it's my ego's kind of dying slowly, but it's still here right now. It's because I want to prove to everybody how good my jiu-jitsu is, because I'm still at that aspect where I'm like middle ground, and I think once I get my purple belt, it'll kind of be there a little bit as well. But as closer I get to brown, it'll start like slowly dying off. And then once I get brown belt, I'm like, I'm a brown belt. People are gonna kind of realize and respect that, you know. But a purple belt, you're like, are you a purple belt or are you a fucking purple belt?
Right.
Like, you know, like there's a big difference between that. And I
Like,
want to be that top 10 purple belt, not just another purple belt. There's a million purple belts, but there's, you know, only a few purple belts, you know what I mean? So I want to kind of make it like that, and that's why I noticed that my ego still pushes me to be that great. And I know that if I put myself in those situations, I still have that ego, and I can feel it in jiu-jitsu, even on the mat with some of my best friends, you guys, you know, in competitions, going to other gyms and shit, you're like, oh my God, this guy jumped, you know, fuck this dude. You know?
Right.
And it's just that thing in the back of your head is, I just want to prove how good I am to everybody. And going to the bar and stuff like that too, people who don't train or don't know even what a fight even is like, they start running their mouth and you're like, I want to be the guy. And I don't know why, but for some reason I always want to be like, I want to be the guy to show this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I want to remember,
You
remind this guy
like,
what the
my
fuck
brother wrestled.
Yeah.
I could kick your ass. Like, okay, but
So like, all right. And I used to say it all the time, like, and when we were kids, we talked about it. Like, we go out to the, you know, we go out to the barn and be like, your buddy's tough. All right, I bet you $100 I'll beat your buddy's ass.
yeah.
And I'll bet you an extra 50 on top of that. I'll smoke him in 50
Dude,
seconds.
I was a dumbass.
You know?
We should have bet money on those fights.
Dude,
We just did it to like pride,
The
man.
bad thing though, dude, I'm so dumb too, and I'm putting this on here too, is I was fighting professionally and out there just beating up kids. But I was under 17 years old when I was doing this, you know?
Right.
Because my best friend killed himself when he was 16, so I was 15, 16 years old, and so after he passed away, I stopped getting out, you know? But that's one of those things, again, I know now as an adult where to take myself to situations, and I have to keep myself out of that and keep my ego in check, because I know if I go to a bar or I start drinking or something, you know, somebody starts running their mouth, I'm like, that little devil on the shoulder is like, we're a little bigger than the angel today. We'll kind of bully that angel and push him away. And like, today, guess what we're doing?
He's
We're gonna
drunk
choke
too.
this
He
guy.
can't help
Yeah,
us.
that guy's drunk. He's hanging out with the fucking devil guy. Like, hey, I think it's a good idea. You
I
know?
think we
And then
can take him.
yeah, like we could get this guy. And but I don't want to be that guy. And I've been that guy so many times before, where I just like grabbed a guy and slapped him. And like, you want to fucking run your mouth? Like, shut the fuck up. Like, we'll show you what it's about. And they're like, I didn't think you were gonna hit me. Like, well, I didn't think you were gonna say and keep running your fucking mouth either.
Right.
Like, you know, like I thought that's where you were going with it, because that's where I'm gonna go. Like, if I keep yelling at you, I want to smack you.
Right.
You know, so I definitely try to keep myself out of those situations. But that's something I get from my dad. My sister gets it as well. And my mom's a firecracker too, man. She's, you know, I remember stories growing up. Her talking about her whooping ass and seeing her chase the fucking neighbor lady down the street for calling us. She told the neighbor lady one time, because I was 3 years old. I remember it was the first time I really got in a fight, and this kid called my sister a bitch. And back in the day, you know, like in the 90s, you don't call people bitches, you know, whatever.
Right.
But I remember I was 3 years old. My sister was 6. This kid called her a bitch. and I grabbed my sister's baton that they used to like twirl and spin around, you know, like fucking cheerleaders used to have, and I chased him all the way down to his yard all the way down the street to his yard and beat his ass in his yard with the baton. And so his mom like comes like chasing me down, so I'm running down to my house from his mom, and she runs up to my mom. She's like, "You better keep your fucking animals in a cage." My mom was like, "What? Bitch?" She takes running off the fucking porch after this lady. My dad runs up and grabs her, like, "Oh my god, like stop, like oh my god, we cannot, we're all gonna go to jail, like I have warrants, like we're going to fucking jail, you know." Because back then again, my dad was in and out of jail, always in trouble for smacking a guy at the bar or whatever,
Yeah.
And again, he was young and dumb like me, he has that fucking ego, but back then there was no outlet for him to save his life, so he was like, "I'm going to the bar, I'm gonna smack somebody, you want to run your mouth?" And growing up, that's how he was raised too. He was like, "You want to run your mouth, you fucking smack a guy."
Yeah.
Like I told Damon, he always told me like, "You don't want to be the first one to throw a punch, but you definitely don't want to be the one to get beat up." You know what I mean? So if you think somebody's gonna fucking hit you, they shove you, that's enough contact for you to fucking hit somebody. Somebody gets in your face, they touch you face to face, you fucking hit them. Like that's enough that they're gonna. It seems that they're gonna aggravate or like aggress the situation. Obviously, he didn't say this, like that, but like, if they fucking touch you, you fucked them up. You don't. They're not gonna fucking ever touch you again. And like, it's goddamn right. I got that. I could do that. As you can tell when I get in this podcast, I get a little more comfortable. I start swearing a little more. So these are all now R-rated podcasts. So if you let Tate or any of these kids listen to this, I'm sorry, but I swear a lot. So yeah, but growing up, like
we're professional during kids class. So that's about as much professionalism
dude,
as I can get.
I seriously, even at the tournaments, man, like you can't expect too much. Like you'll get some, but you can't expect too much.
I'm sitting on the fucking sidelines. I'm like, bah!
Get that motherfucking kid, choke his ass. Oh, you can't say that. He's 12.
Or you get the little 6-year-olds out there. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, that's even worse. Like, Tate, kill that motherfucker. Oh. And then her dad's like, "Yeah, fucking kill him."
Yeah, Justin in the bag, not helping it.
Dude, a little side story. I was over there the other day I actually got this power cord from him, and as I was leaving, me and Justin were walking outside, and Crystal pulls up, and she's got her like little iPod fucking things in her ear, and she pulls them out. She's like, "Oh my god, I was just listening to your podcast." She's like, she said something like, "I almost hit the mailbox" or something like that, and she was like, when I was driving, it was like, "Cause you guys have me laughing so hard about your dicks out on the highway." So we were talking about Dale and Hill flipping out the gym, and I just started laughing so hard. So I was like, it's so good to see that they, like, in their kids' gym, the parents of the kids, that they're into our humor too, and they're like, "This is so fucking funny," and that she's actually listening to it.
Yeah.
And we started talking about how we have the audio podcast and shit, which we'll get into later, but yeah, it's awesome to see that we have people backing us, and they know who we are as people, and they know we're real, and that we really care about what we do, and we're going to be there for the kids and stuff. But at the same time, we're fucking wild men, man. We don't get engaged and fight each other for no fucking reason, dude. Like, you got to expect a little bit of wildness from us. But again, we'll just kind of get back into, I guess, going into Oregon.
Yeah, I was going to say...
So, again, I lived in Washington for a year, from around 7-ish. We moved back to Oregon. And again, my dad was in and out of jail from there. My mom was working all the time. And then my friend, his name's Colby, and I don't care if they fucking sue me or whatever, I don't think they will, but he moved in the trailer park and we became best friends like instantly the first day he moved in. And so we started doing backyard wrestling and stuff like that. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be, and like I always knew that I was going to be some kind of an entertainer, but I always wanted to be a professional wrestler. And that was my thing. I want to be the next Stone Cold Steve Austin, because Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The Undertaker.
You're way, I'm too little. I didn't think about that. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, he reminded me so much of my dad. That badass motherfucker doesn't talk shit, or doesn't take shit, talk shit, get in your face, flip you the fuck off, fuck you, And he's out there chugging beer. So it was one of those things where like it kind of touched home. So I really love Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be a badass wrestler. So we do backyard wrestling. Me and my friend, and he used to love wrestling too. So we do backyard wrestling, jump off fucking ladders. We climb on like the sheds in the backyard, do front flips off onto tables and shit. Like, we were fucking wild, dude. Like, my mom used to have an island in our trailer, and I would jump from the island because I wasn't allowed to share a bedroom with my sister because I was too crazy. And so we were like, from when we moved back to Oregon, from like 6, 7 to when we moved to Minnesota, from Washington, Minnesota, or from Oregon to Minnesota, I lived in like the dining room area, so we had to take out the dining room and put my bed in there, so they could keep track of me all the time and like watch where I was sleeping, so I'd get up and like, sneak out.
This kid.
Yeah. All right. And so what they fucked up though is they had like an island here and my bed here. And so I'd climb on the island and do front flips, and like I used to have like stuffed animals. I'm not afraid to admit it, dude. Like,
little John Hardy and you too. No, Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy, dude, 100% my favorite wrestler, Jeff Hardy. I wanted to marry Lita so bad, dude. I used to do the fucking swanton dive, dude. My cat, that cat that I told you about, my sister, the she cat that we went to my dad. No, his name was Swanton because he did the swanton bomb, and that was, because that cat would climb on the couch, and then he'd try to jump off on stuff, but just do front flips and like land and look around. It's like,
He's a
oh, it's a
little
swanton
retarded.
bomb. Yeah, so we used to call it swanton, and so that's from Jeff Hardy. So everything was wrestling back then.
Yeah.
So then like my friend moved in and we started doing backyard wrestling. Remember the first day he came, there was like a trailer that was like people had moved out or abandoned at the time. We used to call them abandoned trailers. Just people move out and nobody moved in for like a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was like a shed that had like broken down in the back, but the door was like hanging onto it, like somebody like leaned it up there.
Yeah.
So we were like running up on it and jumping and grabbing the thing and climbing on top of it, and then we would jump off and climb back and run down like on our feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing it to kind of show off to this new kid in the neighborhood. Fuck this new kid in the neighborhood. And so then he started doing it too. Then we started like talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna move here with us." So he ended up moving there. We're gonna become best friends. But then like I told that story about his brother was stealing shit.
Stealing the CDs.
So what do you think we started doing? Started stealing shit.
Oh.
We were out backyard wrestling all the time, so we were already in the backyard. We were already breaking into like sheds and shit, and like taking like chairs and like old shit, and like spray paint and shit, and like
Stupid kid shit.
yeah, we were just and we weren't even like vandalizing shit. Like we would like jump into the trailer, like over the fence, and run into the fucking shed that was open, no lock, open up, and be like, oh, we got this. I can hit you with this. We're like, okay, yeah, this works. Let's do it. And then we use it for the day, bring it back all bent, and put it back in like it was, like so we were like borrowing shit, But then we kind of got to like Pokemon cards, and we kind of figured out that we didn't really have to start stealing this shit as much as we could sell Pokemon cards to kids. But then we got in trouble because all these kids were stealing money from their parents to buy Pokemon cards, and then we were stealing Pokemon kids from other kids. So like we would be like me, I guess I'll say like Kyle would fucking have like a Charizard, it'd be like holographic, which is like one of the like rare ones or whatever back then.
Yeah.
And so then fucking Matt would want it, and so all of a sudden fucking Kyle's missing his card, but Matt has one, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, why the fuck you stole my fucking? And we were middleman in this shit, and they're like, no, I got it from Ryan. Where'd Ryan get it? And I used to buy packs of cards all the time, so I was like, no, I got it out of the pack of the card, bro. You happen to miss yours? That has nothing to do with me. We were breaking this kid's fucking trailer, stealing his fucking Pokemon, dude. We were so fucking horrible, dude. And then, so it kind of escalated then to where we started stealing like some small CD players, and we were still, everything was about Pokemon cards. We were trading to get the most expensive Pokemon cards because at the time, if you got the really rare ones, you could take them to like, and eventually, and honestly, we never even did this, but this was the goal. Like we had a goal was we could take them to the card trading store and sell them and get a bunch of money for these, like, so we stole all these cards and we could sell them, but we ended up getting way too deep, way too fast. Started stealing like CD players and TVs and shit and necklaces, shit that we didn't even fucking need, or like we would just keep and like.
Where do these kids keep getting this shit from?
That's exactly where it fucking came from. Was my friend Brad at the time. His fucking mom was like, where the fuck did you get a CD player? Like, we used to call them boom boxes, so boom box back in the day, right? She's like, where the fuck did you get that? Play the tape and the CDs? And he was like, well, we got it from Ryan. Well, isn't Ryan's mom be pissed off he's fucking giving you this for Pokemon cards? Turns out his mom asked my mom, and I was like, he doesn't have a fucking boom box. Like, where the, okay. Comes to find out they figured out we were stealing shit, so then we started kind of getting in trouble, but we were still stealing shit on the side and hiding it in this fucking shit. And we ended up taking like, it was like a little like a moving trailer, but it wasn't like a like big trailer, but it was like a little trailer, like camping trailer kind of. But it was like one of the ones you hooked to the back of your fucking truck.
Yeah.
And so we ended up backyard wrestling one day, and we decided we were gonna have a who's tougher contest and punch the window out. And so, of course, I didn't punch the window. My friend Colby wraps a fucking, because apparently his brother had taught him how to break this shit before, because he's a fucking doucher. He fucking tied this fucking shirt on and just smashed this window. So we're like, oh shit, there's drums in there, bro. So we look in there and like we unlock it, get in there, and we start looking in, and we're like, okay, there's a bunch of cool shit in here, So we're fucking around. So we get caught in there fucking around with it. We're like,
Next week Ryan's gonna be arrested. No.
Dude, I think I'm actually like.
There's statute of limitations.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
shit.
it's more than 10 years. It's almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
But so we were in this place, and we were just fucking around, like playing with the drum set, hitting the drums, and my grandpa caught us because my grandpa was like the manager of the trailer park at the time. And so he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, oh no, one of the older kids broke the window, so we were just in, we saw a bunch of stuff we were playing in here. So then like, he ended up calling a guy that owned the trailer, and was like, hey, you gotta come down, because they ended up living in Washington, but they had some family that was living in the trailer that they owned still. And so, they came down from Washington to fucking fix this shit, and like have to like go through all this shit to make sure nothing was stolen and shit. And so nothing was stolen, so then he leaves, supposedly, and like a week later we fucking jack and break into the trailer, and fucking, we stole the drums and a bunch of shit out of it. And as we were going back for like the big fucking thing of the drums.
Walking down the fucking street.
Dude, two little kids, dude, not even fucking 80, 90 pounds, dude, right? So Colby has one of the like boom drums, I have the big bass drum, right? And we're trying to like get it out, and the fucking dude who's like living at the trailer now sees us, and fucking calls the cops, and fucking, so we're running, right, and as we're running, he's chasing us with a flashlight. So where we were going through, there was like a little, like a fence, so you had to like come around, and like there was a fence here and a trailer here, and you had to like squeeze in between the trailer.
With the big drum?
Yeah, but they knew that we were doing this before, so the person that owned the trailer right here built another fence there. So we were throwing all the shit up to so one would climb over, the other one would throw the shit to it, and then the other one would climb over, and we'd take it back to it. Because then the shed was like 10 feet from there, so we were just hiding in a little abandoned shed.
So did they know about the shed that you had all the shit in?
They didn't know until this night. They found it.
Okay.
They found like
everything.
I want to say it
park?
was $1,500 drum set on top of all the other shit that we had stolen. And they couldn't prove where it come from, but they knew that it was stolen, and we admitted that we stole all that shit. And so we ended up going over the fence, right? And this guy was chasing us. But when we go over the fence, we just ditched the shit outside on the other side of the fence, jumped over the fence. We get over there. Colby's brother and a couple older kids are like 15, 16, which is good. Fucking Colby's brother's a faggot. Sorry, he's an asshole. Sorry, I didn't mean to use the F word, but that guy was a
use that
douche.
shit anymore.
We can't use that anymore. But
is douche still acceptable?
I think so. Douche. He was a douchebag.
Okay,
that's
our new word.
Our alternative for the F word.
And the R word.
And the R word, yeah.
Douche is our word.
Douche, yeah. We'll use douche from that one. But anyway, he was a big douche. It's always his friends, and again, I got in trouble for fucking stealing and him, you know. And at this time, me and Colby were like just able to hang out again, you know, because not only did Brad got in trouble for stealing, we got in trouble for stealing, yeah, and which sucks. I loved his mom, man. I loved his parents, and we did so much cool shit together. It sucks, but so then anyway, we jumped over the fence. We jumped over the fence. His brothers and they had a bunch of 40s, like a bunch of older guys that bought them, and so they were sitting there drinking. So the guy chasing us jumps over the fence, sees these five who were just like, "Where the fuck are you guys going?" And then all of a sudden, boom! Here this guy is, grabs them, throws them against the fence. Like, the cops are on the way. You guys don't go anywhere. And so these kids get stuck, and like, we didn't take anything, you know. So the cops get there. They
did it.
Yeah, they narc on us and tell on us. So then all of a sudden they're like, well, whatever they're doing, they went to that shed first, and then they went to the fucking, you know. And so we went and closed the door in the shed and ran to our trailers because he lived in one trailer, I lived in another. So we just split up, and they'll never find us. They found us. They came to both our doors. They went to Colby's first because Brad was like, "You go to my brother's house. He's gonna tell you." Colby told, obviously, you know, it was with Ryan, blah blah, you know, because the mom and them obviously knew. And so it came down there, and we ended up going down to have to talk to the police and shit, and they were gonna take us to juvie. We both had handcuffs on and shit. We were both under 10 years old, maybe 9, and so they were gonna arrest us, and it ended up being that they let us off because my dad knew the guy that was living in the trailer at the time, and so it wasn't his stuff. Yeah, and he was his brother-in-law or whatever, whoever actually owned the trailer, the shit, and he didn't press charges luckily because my dad knew him, but my dad actually had like a warrant a couple weeks after that for some dumb shit, and then so we ended up, my mom was just like, "This is enough, like either you come with us or we're moving to Minnesota." And so we packed up, and within like the 2-week period of me getting busted and my dad getting in trouble, we had moved across to the state, or across the country to Oregon. So from Oregon to Minnesota. So my, like 4 or 5 years previously, my uncle, like I was telling you, he was originally from Lake City. He moved his family back to Lake City, and that was my mom's sister and her kids.
So they were living in Oregon with you.
Yep, and then they moved,
followed.
Yep, and we followed 4 years later again because in that trouble, and I was destined for no good there, you know. And like I said, I guess I didn't say it to you, but John was like, if you wouldn't have done fighting or moved to Minnesota, you know, like what would you have done? It was like, I'd be dead or in prison, and that's 100% because in the way I was going, my ADHD was all this shit that was going on, you know, with fighting all the time. I would probably.
So were you seeing your therapist and everything out there before you came here?
Yeah, and I seen a therapist for maybe a year, maybe less than that. But again, once you figure out like, oh, it's a fucking pain pill, like just the pills, then I had to go for like another 6 or 7 months to make sure that I wasn't having any of these episodes or anything like that. And then after they figured out that it was just the Adderall that was doing it, they switched me to a pill called Dexedrine. And then Dexedrine was what I was on until I was 15. And then I quit taking it, started fighting, and was like, fuck this, I don't need this shit. Fighting's gonna be the cure.
Yeah.
You know, and on top of some other stuff that I had figured out, it kind of helped me, you know, working out and staying focused and stuff like that. And again, once I fell into my bout of depression and stuff like that, I figured out that what I needed was this, and I need to do training and get, you know, make sure that I'm burning off all that fucking energy that's always inside of me. It feels like I need to just run all the time. So it helped me a lot.
So when you came to Minnesota, you would have been 11. 10, 11?
11. 10, yeah, 10.
Then starting like 6th grade?
Yeah,
6th grade?
Yeah.
So middle school. How big is Lake City?
Well, the little thing about Lake City is they're small. I think it's 6,000 people, maybe 7,000 now. But at the time, I think when we lived there, it was like 5,200 people, something like that, 5,200, something like that. And we had like preschool like pre-K, whatever they call it here, up to 6th grade was all elementary school, and then from 7th to 9th, or from 7th to 12th grade, we were in just the high school. And so when I was switching over to 7th grade, like our first 7th grade year, we were all like one big clusterfuck of a school. And then they kind of made it to where like the one half of the school was just strictly the like 7th and 8th graders, and then 9th and 12th, like all the way up to the then.
So then it broke up to like your junior high and then high school.
Yeah, and so they had like 10 or 12 classes on like one side of the school, and then they'd use like one hallway upstairs for all of the people on this side, and then the hallway and everything on this side would be for like all the older kids and shit. So
see, when I went to high school, I was a senior. I would sit and have lunch with my preschool brother.
Oh, see, yeah, we didn't have it. Luckily, we didn't have it like that. Like all the 6th and 7th graders have it at like 11:30 or something, and we'd have ours at like 12:30 or something. So yeah, they had it pretty jumbled up. But
no, he was like 4 though.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we had a different school luckily at that time. Yours, Medford was really tiny though.
Yeah,
it was a
we
lot
had like
smaller, like city.
1,000 people.
Jesus,
1,200, maybe. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's tiny.
But so in high school, you had your first fight at 16, right?
15.
15.
2 weeks before my 2 weeks. So I had it on like it was like July 21st, and my birthday's August 9th. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks right before my
Where
16th
at?
birthday. Right here in Rochester, Minnesota. Actually, it's the crematorium right now on 37th Street. It used to be Mickey's Irish Saloon. But yeah, it was right there.
I still don't know anything in this town.
Oh yeah. It's right on 37th. It's not too far from here. Yeah, but now it's a big what do they call it? Where they cremate people, crematorium or whatever that is.
Where they make people in the dust.
In the dust. Yeah, the ashes, dust. You know that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we moved to from Oregon, living in Oregon too, and something that I guess I'll kind of put out there that kind of helped fuel my whole fighting and getting in trouble a lot in Minnesota. A couple of things is when I lived in Oregon, obviously I got in a lot of fights. Living in a predominantly what's the right word I'm looking for? Like it was predominantly Mexican, and like I said, there were maybe 10 white families. So it was predominantly minorities.
Yeah.
I guess at the time where we lived, we were the minorities. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but I used to get beat up a lot, picked on by a lot of those kids, and my ADHD and stuff made me really like awkward as a kid. And so this is still living back in Oregon before I was 10. But I got picked on a lot, and it was just again with being an outcast, I think, and having such a crazy ADHD and just being bouncing off the fucking walls, and like I'd always have to go to like LD classes, and like at one point I had to go to a school, like I would leave my school like 2:15, and I would go to a school that it's called in a town called Dayton. It was maybe like 25-30 minutes away, and they had a different school for misbehaved kids, specifically just like a program for misbehaved kids. So they'd bring in kids from all over towns and bring them to this school.
Let's put them all in one place to see how it goes.
Dude, we had a kid too. I just know his name was Justin. No one knew anything about him, but he was crazy, dude. Like they used to have to restrain him like almost every day. Like he'd freak out and scream, and I remember being like, "Why the hell are you taking me to school?" But it was just for kids
I'm
like
not that bad.
like one girl was like on like the stage of autism when they were first figuring out what autism was. She was like really quiet, kind of like. But like as a kids, we were all just like kids, and everybody was a little weird, We all like.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was fucking weird, and I had ADHD, so I was the one bouncing off the walls, jumping off the fucking slides, and doing crazy shit. And they're like, "Don't fucking do that," Like I was that kid. So I was always picked on. I never really got like along with. And again, I'd moved a lot, so I was at like Cook Elementary, Memorial Elementary. Fucking, there's so many different schools that I was at, and so it's hard to like being that young to kind of fit in, especially when you're getting taken out of class, like every couple hours or whatever to go to your special class and come back and you have to do lunch at a special like time with other kids, and you have to And so I got picked on a lot and was really kind of an outcast because of my ADHD.
Yeah, so they kind of like segregated you, which made it even that much harder.
It did, and I know that they weren't trying to, and
they're like, "Oh, this will
really
help."
at one point they had no option. My ADHD was kind of uncontrollable, even with pain pills, or not pain. I keep calling pain pills, but fucking whatever fucking
Mood
masking pills, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck they want to call them, whatever. But again, with ADHD medication, it was one of those things that it helped, but some days I'd forget it, some days I'd need more than others or whatever, you know what I mean? It was just I was so off the fucking wall all the time that I remember one time I got in a fight again. This was when I was on Adderall, but I got in a fight with like 3 or 4 kids on the soccer field. Like, not a fight. I just attacked some kids on the fucking soccer field for making fun of me. And the principal didn't know what to do. They had a big auditorium or something going on. Something in the auditorium going on that day where she had to be there and do a presentation. So they ended up locking me in her office, which is 100% fucking illegal. You cannot fucking do that. And so I proceeded to destroy every single thing that she had in her office. And I 100. And again, like, I'm not proud of these stories, but when I tell these stories and I kind of get this out, I want it to be so people realize.
You're just telling your story.
Yeah, and I want it to be people to realize, like, when I see these kids in class or there's kids that are rambunctious or being crazy, that I was that kid.
You understand it.
So when I'm sitting there,
like when you see, I'm not gonna say his name, but when you see the kid that flips and rolls and is bouncing off the walls in class, like, dude, I get that.
I get it, man. I was there. I was that kid, and I understand that the more you tell him, like, knock it off, he's gonna be like, what? And then he starts feeling outcasted, like, I'm getting yelled at every day. But you just let him bounce off, get those fucking energy out, get all that in. And again, I know what that is. That, like, it turns into frustration because you can't get that out. You don't know what to do, and then it starts turning to rage, and then it starts turning into mad. Then all of a sudden you're mad at your coaches or whatever it is, and it's one of those things that again, I 100% like empathize with these kids because I was that kid at one point, and I remember being like you said, being segregated and not being able to go to whatever it was at the auditorium that day because I had gotten a fight at recess, and now I'm just locked in this room where it's just me. Everybody's like in the office and everything is gone. It's just me in this one little room. And so I seriously, I destroyed everything. She had papers, like envelopes, fucking, like, she had ribbons and shit that she like the volleyball coach or whatever. I was ripping those out, fucking ripping them off the wall. Like, I took her, she had a volleyball, because again, she's a volleyball coach, that's what it was, so she had a volleyball in her thing. And I was taking the volleyball, putting it down, and kicking it as hard as I could toward the windows, toward the door, at the computer screen. Yeah, dude, like shoving the computer screen off the ground, kicking the soccer ball into it. Like, it was horrible. But I remember being like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I was so frustrated. Like, my ADHD, I didn't take pills that day or whatever it was, or it was the Adderall was making me like super fucking crazy. Yeah. So it like I was fucking like double intense. And I remember her being like, "I'm sorry. Like, I should never lock you in there. Like, I totally deserve this." Like, and totally being empathetic for my situation, knowing me as a kid, knowing that I wasn't a bad kid, but I just didn't know where to go or what to do, you know. And again, I kind of relate to my dad as being a lost person and not really like knowing how to deal with
what, you were 6?
Yeah, I was 6. Yeah, 6 years old, 7. Yeah. No, I was probably 7 because it was probably my first year back from Washington. Yeah, and then we went to Cook Elementary, and then after that we had to move schools again, you know, just didn't fit in or whatever, and went to Memorial. Memorial was actually a really good school, but again, it was one of those ones where I transferred in, I was a crazy kid, nobody knew who I was, like, you know, and nobody really gave me the time of day to figure out who I was, because again, as a young kid, you didn't fucking know. They just know, this kid's fucking weird, and he's being crazy, like, stay away from that kid, he's gonna try to attack you. Right. And so that's how that's how it kind of was. So in Oregon, I was super picked on, and I don't even remember what it was or watching something, but a guy saying that, like, he had moved, and that when he moved, he had, like, made it that he was never going to be picked on again, and that he never wanted to be, like, bullied. And I made it a point to being like, no matter what, whoever messes with me in Minnesota, and they used to tell me going to Minnesota too, and this is the second thing I said, the kind of reason why I want to fight is, they always told me that if you come to Minnesota and you get in a fight, they're going to arrest you, like, you're going to go to juvie, because again, I was a crazy kid at the time, and a kid picked on me. Again, I used to get picked on, and I didn't take that shit lightly, you know. And a kid one time threw a bottle at me, hit me in the back of the head, and I wigged out and beat the hell out of this kid. Like, it was like a brawl. Like, I remember, like, I was missing chunks of hair because he pulled my hair out and shit. But at some point, like, I was on the ground, he was, like, kicking me, and he was on top of me. But I remember, like, him, like, in mount, and I grabbed his hair and yanked his hair down, and, like, we were right by a car, and I remember hitting his head on the car, and, like, grabbing his head, and, like, he started crying. I pushed him off, and again, no fucking fighting experience or anything, but I pushed him off, and I remember, like, kicking him and, like, doing that thing where, like, we were by a car, so I was pushing myself off the car and jumping on his ribs and shit. And so, like, he was spitting up blood and, like, coughing blood, you know, but obviously he had bloody nose and shit, so, like, his mom thought he was internally bleeding. So she came to my house, she didn't speak any English. He was, like, crying, bawling, trying to figure out, like, tell her what happened. Like, I was, like, screaming, like, fuck that fucking kid, he hit me with a fucking bottle, you know, like, I was just crazy, you know. I was like, what is going on here? So then the next day I go to school, and this is at, Cook. This is the reason why I had to actually leave Cook. It was a little while after I did the freak out thing. The police officer that, like, I called to the Mexican lady's house came the next day and arrested me at school. I was 8 years old, I think, 7 or 8, and they arrested me, put me in handcuffs, put me in the back of a cop car, drove me all the way home, and then they took me to my mom's house, and this is right when they were, like, starting the scared straight program, and so I had to go through the scared straight program, and so it was like a 3 or 4 hour class or something back then where you go in and basically what they do is they take your fingerprints, they put you in like the fucking uniform, they fucking yell at you.
This is them
and
Tom Segura
like,
finds out, or talks about?
Yeah, like the scared straight that they have now. Like I was like one of the very first ones that were doing this too. And so at least I know about, like, again, it was like a 3 or 4 hour class, or like, I don't even know, class, whatever, but we went in there and like basically the guy was a drill sergeant yelled at you the whole time, take your fucking clothes off, put these fucking on, leave your fucking underwear on, everything but, you know, blah, blah. And he's like, and then I remember they taking you and they put you like in front of the window, like where you call people. Mm-hmm. He's like, our phones don't work most of the time, so you gotta scream so your mom can hear you. He's like, now scream so your mom can tell your mom you love her. And I was like, what? And he's like, scream and tell your mom she loves you. I was like, I love you. He's like, louder. She can't hear you. You think your mom can hear you? She loves you. You think she's happy that you're in here? Blah, blah. And I just remember being like, oh my fucking god. Yeah, and I remember like at one point I broke down and like I totally made this part up because my dad would yell at us a lot. You know, like, what the fuck are you doing? God damn it, like, why are you breaking shit? And obviously, I was a crazy little kid, so I'd break shit all the time, you know. And my dad was a guy who was frustrated a lot, you know, and definitely I could tell now as an adult I could be that guy too, of being like not knowing where I am in life or whatever. Like, I'm so lucky to be where I am, so I empathize with his situation, with aggressiveness and with yelling at me, not knowing how to like discipline a kid that's super fucking crazy, basically. And so I remember like getting yelled at and stuff, and being like, yeah, okay, I'm not good, I'll break shit. And so going to school and shit, I remember being like, I kind of get it, like I understand, like now as an adult I understand like where they're all coming from and shit, and so I understand like the discipline and shit. But goddamn, I forgot where I was going with that. But going to school in Oregon, I remember they kind of like. Oh yeah,
empathizing with your dad.
Yeah, empathizing with my dad because he was like, stop yelling at me.
I had to think about it for a second.
Yeah, I was like, he's like, yell louder or whatever, and then they're yelling at me, and I remember breaking down and him being like, why are you crying? I was like, I don't like to be yelled at, but then like in the back of my head being like, dude, my dad yells at me for doing dumb shit all and like now like my dad was like berating me just for anything. I was like, like I said, I used to swing across the fucking curtains and rip them all fucking down.
Like,
of course you, yeah, like, what the fuck are you thinking? You, like, I fucking just bought them goddamn fucking things. Like, you broke your fucking sister's angels again. Like, what the fuck? How many times I gotta tell you can't break shit? Like, don't throw it in the air, you fucking dumbass. You know, like, and
yeah,
shit that nowadays I'm like, why the fuck was I throwing? Of course I was gonna call it dumbass. I deserve, you know, like, and again, it's one of those things like Damien Hill's podcast. I fucking deserved a lot of, like, I know I got spanked. I got fucking slapped around, I got shoved around, I got like yanked and taken to the bathroom and fucking scolded and talking to, you know, and spanked. But I deserve all of that shit because of the shit that I did, and it made me realize as a person now that like, yeah, I got spanked and shit, but I never got beat. I never like, my dad never just fucked me up for no fucking reason, you know, just because he was in a bad mood. It was like, I deserve that shit, dude. You can only take toys, you can only climb to the top of the fucking ball pit, you know, and jump in so many times before your dad's like, what in the fuck am I gonna do with you? I can't take you to Walmart? What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I empathize with that shit now, you know?
Right.
And so, being at the Scared Straight program, I remember being like, my way to get out a little early was like, I don't like being yelled at, and pretending I was being scared, and going out there and my mom being like, what was it like? And being like, it was horrible, like, that was the scariest thing ever, you know? And then, of course, it jumpstart to where I fucking started stealing shit, breaking into shit, you know? So, it's one of those things that I did the Scared Straight program, it didn't really, you know, it didn't work, and it kind of stopped me from fighting as much, but it didn't. And then again, I was getting picked on. So when I moved to Washington or fucking Minnesota from Oregon, my thing was I'm not getting picked on. And again, I don't remember where I heard that from, why I heard that from, but it was like I never got picked on. First day I moved to Minnesota, I got played at the pool. Couldn't go to the pool for the whole summer. I told that story already. And so that was my goal though. Was like, my dad was a badass. Everywhere we went back in Oregon, you know, we went to Sand Lake, we went to fucking Lafayette, we went to Dayton. Anywhere we went, people knew my dad, they respected my dad, and they feared my dad because they knew if they fucked up, they disrespected him, they did something to his kids, his family, he was gonna fucking hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. And so I always knew that, and I respected that so much because watching movies and shit too growing up, like, that's the guy that emulated in all these movies, you know, and my dad was that guy. Obviously, he had his own demons at the same time, but I was too young to really realize what those demons were.
Yeah, you didn't understand that part.
But I emulated, you know, like, I want to be that guy that people fear, they respect, and they're not going to go around fucking with the talking shit about, you know, because honestly, like I said, I remember 10 different guys my dad beat up, and I remember one guy would just, he'd call my house, this is when we lived in Minnesota, he called my house and was yelling shit, talking to my dad. Dad's like, let's get the kids, let's go. So I got all in the car, we went to this motherfucker's house, the guy opened the door, and my dad was like, you got something to say, motherfucker? The guy went to say something, and pow, hit him right through the fucking door, like, you gonna keep saying? And I remember, dude, it was so funny because he told this guy, like, you keep talking shit, I'm gonna come to your fucking house. Like, I'm gonna come to your house, I'm gonna fucking find you. And my dad used to have this line, and I love it, and I always tell everybody this, and it's 100% true of my dad. And again, my dad was not a bad guy, but he's a guy that was a rough motherfucker, you know, he grew up rough, he wasn't afraid to go back to jail or anything, and his famous line was, I'm not afraid to go back to prison, and he would tell motherfuckers that, and when he said it, you knew that motherfucker meant that shit, dude, and it was scary, dude, to see something, and be like, I don't know where you stole that line from, but dude, that is fucking amazing. And so again, I remember like going there and the guy being like, what's up, motherfucker? And my dad just being like, pow, like, you keep running your fucking mouth. But he hit this guy, boom, when he hit this guy, he hit him so hard the guy like went down, and his old lady like swung the door closed, because she was like right behind the door. But as like my dad hit the guy, he's like, god damn, and like the girliest fucking like, oh my god, it was so funny, dude. I know when I tell the story, my brother-in-law's gonna watch this and laugh, because it was so fucking funny, dude. The same guy, again, like 2 weeks later, was talking shit. Me and my brother-in-law and my dad chased him and his buddy down the fucking street. Like, this is before I even started fighting, but again, I was a bad motherfucker and I was a young kid, dude. I didn't care. I brought my skateboard with. I was like, I'm gonna fuck him with the skateboard, bro. Like, I don't care. But again, we just didn't take shit from anybody, and that was one of the things we emulated. And so, moving from Oregon to Washington, or from Oregon to Minnesota, I was just like, I'm not gonna take bullshit, you know. And in Washington, I didn't know anything, and I was too young, you know. That which Washington, I remember being like an awesome experience, man. But that's why I see my dad being my Uncle Leroy. And so like I remember little shit, you know, like my Uncle Leroy was fucked up on drugs or something, and came to the house, started running his mouth, and my dad was like, not today, motherfucker. Like, not in my house, you know, drug him outside, slapped him around a couple times, sent him home. And so like I seen that shit growing up. So growing up I was like, I'm gonna be even closer. I'm that guy. And as weird as it is, as bad as it is, and like, and I don't like, again, I don't go to these situations, but again, if I'm in those situations or something happens, like, I'm that guy when it comes around, like my family and shit like that. Like, I'm the one that's gonna stick up for my family. I see somebody disrespect my family, put their hands on my family, like, as much as I do respect martial arts and all that shit too, there's a fine line I don't let people cross. And, and if you get physical with somebody with me or somebody that I know, like, I'm definitely gonna get physical with you. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit better than most people are, you know, because I do it quite often. But I try to retaliate or try to resist as much as possible, and not have to retaliate in those situations. But you know, luckily it hasn't happened very often, you know, or got to an escalating point to where you really have to hurt somebody or anything. But I'm definitely, you know, growing up, we were taught that roughneck way, and that's what Deanna said. We're roughnecks, man. We don't take that bullshit. And that's exactly what we are. And you're the same way too. You know, somebody disrespect you, put their hands on you in a fight or in a street fight. Or, you know,
like through my life though, like I've never been in a lot of fights. I've been in more controlled fights where like I've always kind of been able to keep my cool. But once it's gone, like once you touch me, then it's fucking on.
Yeah, and again, growing up too, I was, you know, frustrated. I didn't know how to control my emotions, and it was up and down, crazy. And next thing you know, I was ball of energy. I didn't know what to do with it. People making fun of me, and you know. And again, once I became like 10, 11, 12 years old, there was nobody gonna fuck with me or do it. You know, I wasn't taking that bullshit anymore. And seeing my dad, too, my dad was a tough guy. Like, I'm gonna make him proud. I'm gonna be that tough guy, you know, too. And I definitely took my licks, man. I remember there was a kid Tugs, he beat the shit out of me, bro. He beat me up bad, man. But I got up, fucking healed my wounds, and came back just as strong, you know. And I was always wanted to fight, and I think that helped me a lot in my fight careers growing up so rough.
See, to kind of compare for a second, like, I was never that kid, but like my little cousin was that kid.
Yeah, so
my best friends were that kid. So they'd go run and talk shit, they'd get in the fight, and I'd have to go fucking save their ass. So that was me getting into the fights, you know?
Yeah, so luckily I was the one that, you know, I would, or, you know, one of my friends would talk shit or something, you know, again, I would smack somebody. You know, there's many fights where I'd have my friend be like, alright, you get him to hit you, and if he hits you, I'm gonna jump in and fuck him up, and that happened a couple.
Yeah,
you know,
so like
4 or 5
how
times.
you were saying with your grandparents and you and your aunt lived in the corner. So like me and my grandma and my mom lived in this house. My aunt lived right next door, and my cousin lived in the backyard.
Yeah, so there.
So like,
you know exactly what I'm talking about. Then yeah, you relate to that very well then.
Yeah.
But yeah, but so moving was the biggest help in my life, but at the same time, you know, and again, I changed to being more of a kind of a bully, kind of a, you know, what I would think of a piece of shit, you know, POS or something, you know, whatever you want to call it. I was, I totally was, but again, it was a lot of that frustration and built up anger and pent up aggression. I was taking on a lot of people from the kids in Oregon and stuff that I went through, you know, there that I didn't really know how to deal with it back then. Now it kind of was coming out as aggression, and again that frustration built into anger, and that anger turned out into unleashing onto other people, you know. And 100% I got suspended a million times. I've been in ISS and I've been in so many fights, and it's one of those things I say nowadays that like my best friends, and this kind of goes into MMA too, but my best friends, the closest people around me, like everybody I know, my brother-in-law, everybody that's like close to me, I've either been in a fight with, I've wrestled, I've boxed, I've fucking punched in the face, I've, you know, like some kind of physical altercation, like whether it was playful or angry, you know, has happened with somebody like that. And it's just my personality and kind of who I am and where I've grown up has kind of been like that. And so again, I didn't want to be picked on anymore. So time anybody talked shit, or they wanted to pick on me, even no matter how big they were, how small they were. And this is a big thing I say nowadays is, I don't care how big you are, tough you are, and you see this in all these tournaments. I'll show up to any fucking absolute tournament, go against anybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm not afraid of that, and I think the reason why is because my dad taught me so young. Is a big thing he used to tell me too is two things: is dynamite comes in small packages. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And so I always think I'm a little motherfucker, but I'm a bad motherfucker, and I've always had that in the back of my head, and that helped me through fighting, through high school, and all that shit. And again, it got me in a lot of trouble in high school, but I think getting all that trouble
found your outlet to put
was.
all that energy to.
Exactly, yeah, and what kind of led to me fighting, and again, 12, 13, up to 13, years old, I was kind of getting in trouble and kind of getting almost kicked out of school, but then my dad again was struggling with his drug addiction all through, and then again, my dad was always there. When he was there, he was there, he was content, and he was with us, and he was always trying to teach us stuff or tell us, but just the things that he knew about, life, fighting, how to stick up for your fucking self, how not to take bullshit, how to stick up for your family, your mom, you know what I mean, and like how much you respect your mother, your sister, and how much women mean to you, to the world and to men, and that we're basically nothing without women, you know what I mean, there's a lot that he showed me, and I mean, obviously he had times where, his drug addiction took over, and, he didn't really get to show that best side of himself, and, where he was kind of lost, but
so,
when he came as a person...
Just to kind of clarify, he was never violent at the house.
I mean, not like physically violent, but, like, at least, like, beating us, but he'd slam shit, break shit, punch fucking, like, like
so
coffee tables and stuff like
objects,
that. Yeah, and it was one of those things, too, where, and now as an adult and then kind of growing up, I see it was more of, he was a frustrated person that didn't know how to control his emotions or, like,
he was the
express
big
himself.
little you.
Yeah, exactly. He was a giant version of myself, and luckily I have MMA and I have some stuff where I
but like I'm saying, like in high school or
exactly.
Kid,
Yep, exactly. Yep. And I emulated that, and growing up, you can tell that I was just fucking spitting into my dad, and something that always fucked with me. And I know there's people out there who are going to see this and hear this and probably not agree with this or whatever, but a lot of people growing up told me a lot of people thought my dad was a piece of shit. And that goes a lot. My mom's family growing up didn't really like my dad. It wasn't a lot at my grandparents' house on my mom's side, until I was probably 10 or 11. Like every now and then, like my mom would get in a fight, she'd go to my grandparents' house or whatever. But it was very rare that I was allowed there with them. And so it was one of those things that kind of I guess, like, knowing that people would always call my dad a piece of shit, they would always tell me that I was like, basically following his footsteps, and I was going to grow up and be a piece of shit just like my dad. And there's 5, 6, 7 times I specifically remember the person telling me that to my face, like, you think you're funny, you think you're good, whatever, blah, 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 like, you're going to be a piece of shit just like your fucking dad. Yeah. At one of the times he was in jail, one of the times he was living in Oregon, another time, he was, passed away, and the times that it hurt me the most was when people said after he passed away, you're going to be a piece of shit just like your dad. And it's like, so that means that you think my dad's a piece of shit, you know what I mean? And so it kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
It's like your hero, your fucking idol,
exactly.
Or whatever you want to
and whether he had his struggles or not, and then he'll get older again, those
that
times
is your
where,
fucking dad.
Yeah, and that was the man that raised me, and I
For
wouldn't
better
be
or
the
worse.
fighter who I am today. I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't have stepped up and tried to be in MMA if it wasn't for him, you know what I mean? Because in and out of his addiction again, there's times where literally I would see my dad take handfuls of pain pills and shove them in his mouth, chew them up, and, he'd go about his day. And in between those times, when he was sober, he was trying to be sober, or, he had it under control, which, I never really think that he was ever sober for a long period of time. It was one of those things where he just kind of had it minimized, or he kind of had it, under control for a little while. And then during those times, which was for long periods of time, but again, it was one of those things that just kind of at the end kind of took over and got the best of him.
How old was he?
38.
And what was it?
Drug overdose.
The OD? Okay.
Yeah, he had methadone. So, big thing that people don't know, and if you do drugs, it's kind of just a warning out there to make sure it's still going. Make sure that everybody kind of knows it's kind of just a little awareness too. Is anybody who's addicted or on any kind of an addict or anything like that. If you take methadone, it's one of those things that it takes a long time to get in your system. It was my dad. He would he would take pain pills, and
So
at the end of it,
rush.
at the end of it, he would take handfuls and chew them up. Again, 10, 12, 13 pills at a time, which kill most fucking people.
Yeah, but once you build that
tolerance,
yeah,
and he had that tolerance built up over years and years. And again, this is the kind of the downfall of him is he would take pain pills all the time, anything and everything, you know, handfuls of them, didn't care. Perfectly fine. He'd be fucked up, but he wouldn't be too fucked up, you know. And then with methadone, though, it takes a long time to get in your system, no matter if you chew it up, take it, whatever, you know. And it takes at least 45 minutes or so to get in your system. And with him, you know, the pain pills he was taking, he'd feel that rush in 10, 5 minutes, you know. Just chewing out, make it even, could dissolve even faster, you know. And so he had, like, again, unfortunately, he's a full-blown addict at the end, and he had his tricks and his trades to make everything hit a little faster, you know, not, you know, whatever.
Did he outsmart it? No.
He never, and I mean, I know he probably did a lot of, you know, shit like that, but his main thing was pain pills, and it was stemmed from those surgeries. And again, like I said, like when he had his knee surgery, he had 5 or 6 different knee surgeries on the same knee. Wouldn't take, he'd be in for, you know, he'd be off his feet for 2 months, and then he'd be right back into surgery again because someone fuck up.
So his 5 surgeries, were they right away, or were they spread out through the 10
within
years?
a few years, within 3 or 4 years.
All 5.
Within 3 or 4 years, yeah. Because again, it was one of those things where it wouldn't take, or something would pop, something would, you know, go back to work, and something would tear again, and, you know, it was one of those things that, and I was always afraid too of knee injuries because of how bad his was as a kid, and I'm always afraid that my knees are gonna be fucked up. Once they're fucked, they're fucked for life, you know, and that was his problem. And he never really got a time to get off those pain pills because, again, he was on pain pills, then he was kind of addicted to them a little bit, and then also, yeah, I have a knee surgery, bam, here you go, here's a new fucking prescription pain pills. And then he's like, oh, my knee still hurts, I still have these screws in them, you know, and this was when he was an addict. Like, okay, well, here you go, here's 4 pain pills for you. You know, not really fucking giving a fuck what he was doing to him, you know, and little by little.
No, like that's one that's always scared me, because, like, you know, I've had my problems with drinking or whatever, but I will not touch pain pills.
Right, yeah.
Because it's just the horror stories.
And that's my thing too, is I don't like ibuprofen, I don't like any of that stuff, and you know, I've been looking into some CBD or some of that stuff, some alternative stuff, but I haven't really found anything that I'm willing to put in my body. And again, I'm not one that, I don't take take protein, I don't take vitamins, I don't take any of that shit, you know, I've been always natural forever. Probably would have helped me a lot better, you know, maybe at some points, but again, it's one of those guys
got on the roids, man.
Yeah, man, like, I just never wanted to put any of that stuff in my body, and the big thing is, I always thought it was mental weakness. My dad never did that shit, why the fuck would I do it? You know, like, look how big that motherfucker was, how scary he was, you know, and why the fuck would I need that? I just gotta get in there and grind and fucking put my nose to the mouth and fucking go. And that's how my motto has always kind of been. And again, that kind of stemmed from, look at what pain pills or what he did to him. What if I start taking vitamins, or I start taking something and they're not doing what I want now? Next thing you know, I want steroids and I'm fucking jacked and I'm a fucking, you know what I mean? And again, it's just because as a young age, he always told me, like, be careful, you have an addictive personality, it runs in the family. Happened to my dad, happened to my uncles, happened to me. And it was one of those things that he kind of foresaw that he could save me in the future.
He warned you about this?
Yeah, he warned me about it at a young age, probably 7, 8, 9. And then I remember again when I was 13, the very before he passed away. He was out, but he said it in a way that he knew I could hear it, but I wasn't saying directly to me. He was saying to my brother-in-law, and that he was always afraid that I would follow his footsteps, because I have an addictive personality. And he saw that with a lot of the shit I did, Mountain Dew, fucking wrestling, you know, anything I'd get into. And nowadays you can see it too, podcasting, fucking internet.
Jiu-jitsu.
I go deep. Like, if I know I'm into something, I go fucking hard. And I go hard in the paint, that's for damn sure. Like, but it's one of those things that all the shit that, even though he was struggling with, he taught me great lessons, and he was always there, and he was always content. And when I was about 13 or 14, or 12 or 13, we really started getting into UFC. And he loved Chuck Liddell because that was his fucking style. He loved to knock people. And again,
You sprawl brawl?
Yeah, sprawl brawl didn't work, but and everybody's heard that too. I can't sprawl, I can't fucking brawl. I don't get hit, but I can choke people when I can do arm bars. But his thing was, he loved to get in street fights, man. And growing up where he came from, and where we kind of grew up, and how we grew up, was that was a normal thing, man. Like we said, like, it was Friday night, or a fight on a Friday night, Saturday night, let's fucking do it. Let's show up, and you want to pay some money, whatever. You want to fight for free, we'll fight for free, you know. His thing was too, is if you disrespect him, he thought if you beat his ass, like, let's prove it. You know, and that's just kind of how he grew up. And like, it rubbed off on me, and so watching Chuck Liddell, that was his thing, you know. And again, I see my dad beat up people and get in fights and get in altercations where he fucking grab motherfuckers. Like, I remember one time they were all sitting at a fucking poker table, man, all hanging out, and the guy across the poker table started running his mouth, a bigger guy, probably about 300 pounds, big dude, big fucking dude. My dad was just like, alright, motherfucker, keep running your mouth, blah, blah. Next thing you know, my dad grabs the table, flips it over, grabs this guy, picks him out of a chair, and shoves him through like a window like this, through the fucking window. And he's like, the glass coming down. He's like, you want to keep running your fucking mouth, motherfucker? He's like, I'll show you what fucking tough is. And this guy's like, Jack, I'm sorry, Jack. I don't do it. Yeah, I don't. And he knew my dad was gonna fucking throttle him. It's like, my dad didn't. And it's one of those things, like, you can talk shit, you goof around, but when it comes to a certain point, once you feel disrespected, and that's why I you know, my buddies and shit, like I always tell them, like, I don't like this whole debating shit. Like they get in like arguments where they debate about shit and they start like yelling and getting like really and that's when I start getting like I feel disrespected. Yeah, like I get out of the conversation, or one of you guys is getting smacked. Like it sucks, but I know myself, like, and I know that that's just how I am, and it's again, you know, it's one of those primal instinct rages that came from fucking genetics that I seen it and I'm like, yeah, you don't, we're at the fucking coffee table, you keep running your mouth, I'm gonna flip this coffee table, I'm gonna fucking choke you, like, I'm gonna do it, like, keep running your mouth, you don't believe me anymore, you know, it's like, and I don't want to get to that point, so I'm like, I'm just down with cards for the night, guys, but my dad was never, he was just sitting there waiting, like, oh, I hope he says one more fuck, and then he'd flip that table and be like, let's see it, motherfucker, but that's just where he grew up and how he grew up, you know, so watching fighting, I could see it in him, like, I wish I was younger, I wish my knee was better, I could do this. And at the time, we had a guy named Jeremy Lafferty, and he was fighting, and he had a team, and a couple other guys that.
This is in Lake City.
Yeah, this is Oregon now. Now we're in Oregon, or Washington, sorry, or fucking Minnesota. God damn it, I'm horrible.
So this is what I wanted to talk about. Just so he was around when you first started your training.
Nope. So when I first started watching MMA.
Oh, okay.
So we started watching UFC together probably 2 years prior to him passing away.
And what was this Lafferty guy?
Jeremy Lafferty was an MMA fighter in Lake City. That was he was on Team Crazy at the time. So before I started fighting, they had an MMA team in town. It was mixed between Rochester and Lake City. They were bouncing back and forth.
So Team Crazy. So this is your first gym, correct?
Yep, that was my first gym. Yep. And so I ended up joining them 2 years later. Like after we started watching, 2 years later. But
so Jeremy you knew this?
Yeah, we knew about it. We had heard about it, and then like we heard about him fighting, Jeremy fighting, and then we kind of got into UFC. And like, oh shit, Ken Shamrock does this, and kind of started watching, figuring out. And I just love watching wrestling. So Ken Shamrock was like, oh, he's a real ultimate fighter. He really does this stuff. And so we got into it, got into Tito, and when we got into it, it was a Tito and Chuck rivalry.
Yep.
And then Chuck was huge, and it was Chuck and Randy rivalry. You know, he knocked out Randy the first time, they knocked him out again, and he beat up Tito. And so that was when we were like really getting deep into this shit, you know. And then unfortunately he passed away of drug overdose when I was 14. Again, it was that.
Can we touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I want to go into that because I was talking about the methadone thing, and that's where I kind of want to get back into. Again, I get off track because I'll start talking about him. I could talk stories about my dad for hours. Yeah, that too. So with methadone is it takes a long time to get in the system. So his deal was he liked that quick fix.
That's what he OD'd on.
Yeah, it was methadone, and so he was taking whatever by oral. I don't know if it's pills or if it's like a liquid, I don't know, whatever it was, but it was some kind of pill. I don't know if it was crushed up or whatever. But he was taking these, and so his deal was he would trade, like let's say 8 Vicodin for 2 oxys or 10, you know, whatever. So he would trade some shit. So he'd get some shit from the pharmacy that wasn't good enough that he didn't like. So he would trade it to somebody else who had some good shit. So he'd give him like, you know, he knew that 2 would be good for him or whatever, so he'd give him 8 of the shitty one he doesn't need and get 2 of these good ones over fucking well. So, you know, so he would trade off and end up being that he traded with a guy and traded a guy for methadone. And I don't know, apparently he didn't know about methadone or knew.
Or the guy didn't tell him it was methadone
or whatever it was, yeah. And he ended up taking the methadone and taking like half of whatever he had got, and then it didn't fuck him up in time. Took another half, and yeah, it was too much for his system. And I remember, and I know my mom probably is going to hate that I say this, but I remember there was a video for videotaping him because it was, again, it started spiraling out of control real fast, you know, within like the last month or 2 of his life. Kind of just like, you're not like there was times where he was functioning, you know, he'd be sweating, he'd be fucked up or whatever, but he'd be like working on shit, he'd still be for like a couple months or, you know, so like, I remember there was a time he stood up and kind of like started to like pass out and sat down, like, what the fuck, dude, like, this is not, you know, but as kids we didn't know what to, you know, my mom, like, he was invincible, you know, at this time. Nobody else was going to hurt him, you know. He could take, again, 15 pain pills and fucking, next thing you know, he's out there cooking, grilling, doing. But
it was that slow of doing that for over, what, 20 years at this point?
20 years or so, yeah. It was, and who knows even longer how much, you know, drugs he was doing when he was younger partying, because I know he used to party like a motherfucker when he was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
Back then, the 80s, 90s, you know, that was the thing to do was partying and get fucked up, you know, rock star lifestyle. Everybody wanted to be that, so, you know, and he took that to the fucking limit, I'm sure. But again, it was one of those things that he took the first part of the methadone, it didn't fuck him up fast enough. He took the second part, and it hit him too hard. And so again, there's a video of him, like my mom was, and again, we were trying to get him to go on intervention or something like that, kind of trying to get him to get healthy this time, but unfortunately, it was a little too late. And she took a video of him kind of being fucked up that night and showing him like slurring, and like they had a bathroom in their bedroom, and like he was like sitting on the toilet in the bedroom, like trying to like drink water or do something, like couldn't even really like understand or talk or anything. So he ended up passing out and never waking back up. So what ended up happening is if I remember correctly, they ended up saying it was cardiac arrest, but he overdosed, put himself in, put his body in cardiac arrest, and then he passed away from that. So, but the methadone again, it just was too much for his body. He OD'd on it, passed out in bed, didn't wake back up because his body went into cardiac arrest after he had OD'd, and then they woke up.
Yeah. And
so I remember, and there's an officer in town in Lake City that unfortunately he was killed in line of duty in Lake City, but his name's Officer Schroeder, and he did everything he fucking could for my dad. He worked on my dad for at least 30 to 45 minutes.
Trying to revive him?
Trying to revive him, trying to bring him back, trying to do anything. And it was one of those things that he worked so hard on my dad that I thought he was going to pass out from
his arms were dead.
And that he wasn't giving up. And it was one of those things that before that I always kind of thought he was kind of an asshole. But again, he was a cop, he was stern, and we were dumb kids, so obviously, but from that point on, I really, really respected that guy. And unfortunately, a few years later, he was actually killed in line of duty in Lake City. A veteran, young guy who had PTSD, ended up actually taking his girlfriend hostage in Lake City, and then he was the first, him and another officer, Officer Cabista was our school liaison officer, but after we had graduated, he became like the chief of police, and so they responded to, person
first on scene.
Yeah, and so they were first on scene, and from the story I heard, Shorter went to the front door, Cabista went to the back door, and they went into the front door. He got shot right through the door, shot him right in the head, and killed him. And so, unfortunately, that happened, and the kid ended up killing himself later. But I always gave a lot of respect to that guy for what he did for my dad, and and even if he knew he wasn't coming back, he did that for our family because everybody in the family was there. My aunt, or my mom, my sister, my cousin, who was living with us at the time, my brother-in-law, like. We were all there, and we all kind of seen it, and so the day was a really fucked up story because I went to school, and I remember like seeing my dad and being like kind of wanting to wake him up early in that day, but it was one of those things where it was like, man, he's gonna be grumpy and fucking telling me to fucking idiot leave him alone, whatever, because again I was just a dumb young kid, and my dad was like, what the fuck are you waking me up for? Like, you have school, what the fuck do you want, like. But for some reason I wanted to wake, and I don't remember why or what the reason behind that was. I just felt like for some reason I wanted to wake him up that day, but I was like, nah, the last thing I want to do is fucking bitch out before I go to school. Fuck it. So I fucking just went, and again, that's every fucking young 14-year-old kid. Like, the last thing I want to do is wake up dad, fucking get yelled at, which is, I think everybody can relate to that, your dad's like tired, like, leave me the fuck alone. And so I remember waking up my mom and being like, alright, we're going to ride to school, whatever. And then I was at school and I was in first hour, and at this point, I was actually doing really good. Like, I was trying to change myself around and trying to be like a good kid because I was tired of getting in trouble. And this was I was already kind of switching into, I didn't want to be a troublemaker all the time, and I was thinking of getting suspended and shit. And I kind of was making myself more of an outcast again by getting in trouble a lot. So I was kind of figuring that out as maybe I should stay in school and not pick on people all the time and try to be an asshole. Maybe people actually like me. Right. And so then I was in the first hour, and I remember they called me office, and I was like,
I didn't even fucking do anything today.
100%. Like, what the fuck do they want? And I get to the office, and my sister's at like the door of the office, and she's like, we gotta go. Dad's not breathing. And I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I remember like running out the car, running there, and getting to the house, and then getting to see the officer working on my dad, and obviously it was too late. But I remember being like walking to the back porch afterward, and like police corners, all that shit was coming, and we had to deal with all that shit. But I remember sitting on the back step, and everybody's asking where I was, but I remember hearing everybody, but like I didn't feel like I felt like it was like out of body experience.
Yeah,
like,
just totally gone.
I didn't really know where I was, but I remember being at that moment and being like, I'm gonna make my dad proud of being a fighter, and like I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. And I knew that I needed to make him proud and my mom proud by not following his footsteps, but also by making him proud of being a fighter or being somebody that could emulate his image and show everybody how badass he was. Yeah, and again, I think I do that a lot when I show my personality and how tough I am, and with that grit, and that's all, directly related to him, and that I'm trying to make him happy and proud. And there's so many times where I walked in the cage, and the last thing I said right before walking in the cage is like, all right, Dad, let's go, we got this, and that fucking fuels the fire in me, and I'll take on the fucking world with it, knowing that he's got my back, and knowing how big of a presence he has still inside of me. But it's one of those things that once he passed away, I decided that I need to figure it out. And again, there's a guy that was training on the team, and he had taken his first fight, but he took it back then again. It was Wild Wild fucking West, And so this guy was actually in the crowd drinking a beer. One of the fighters backed out in the back, and they were like, is anybody in the crowd man enough to jump in the cage tonight, blah, blah, and this dude was like, oh yeah, I know all
This
these
is the guy
guys.
that ran Team Crazy.
No, this is one of the guys that actually, he was just training on Team Crazy at the time, but he got me on the team.
Okay, so let's take a pause. So then your dad died.
Yep, dad passed away.
You do 2 years of high school.
Nope, I was 14 when my dad passed away, so I actually started training the exact same year within 5 months my dad passed away. So I made it that day. I made it a goal. I was going to be a fighter. Figure out how.
And then you got it hooked up with this Team Crazy.
Yep. And how I got hooked up with Team Crazy was again. I went to a friend's house after school, and this guy had taken his fight out of the crowd, you know. And I don't think he was training at all at this time. So it was like a few weeks, and he was like, I'm gonna start training. And so I went to my buddy's house after seeing this guy, and I was like, what the fuck happened to you? And he's like, everybody keeps asking me this bullshit. I got in a cage and I fucking fought a professional fighter, blah, blah. And he like was like saying this shit, and I was like, dude, you mean like MMA, like with Lafferty? He's like, yeah, and I'm gonna be on the same team as him, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, can you help me do that? And so then like he was like, no, you're too fucking young, blah, I gotta be 18, blah, blah. And then like I would just start like hitting up and like, dude,
hey, come on, man.
Like, look, dude, and then finally I broke down. I was like, dude, if my dad died, like, I'm looking for something. Like, this is the only thing I can figure out that I want an outlet. I'm not gonna play sports, I'm not gonna do anything. Like, please, like, let me. I was like, I keep getting in trouble for fighting. Like, this is the only thing I'm fucking good at. And so he ended up finally talking, you know. And at this time, I was kind of sending him messages and the coach guy at the time. And I was like,
on MySpace.
Yeah, it's something back then. I think it was actually text messages. I ended up because he gave me the message, and so I was doing like a group message between the three of them. Like, he'll give me a ride. Like, can you please let me come? And finally,
this is you talking to Lafferty or the guy that you met?
It's actually Kevin Garledge and a guy named Eric Adams. So Eric Adams is the one that took the fight on short notice right out of the crowd, and then he was sending me Kevin's number. So we kind of started talking to Kevin, and then my mom started talking to him, and it was like, please, like my son's looking for an outlet, blah blah. And so they were like, all right, just come one day, and we'll see. And so it was after school we went, and I think school got out at 3:19. Classes started at 5 o'clock, so we showed up, and they put me through what I would call
gauntlet.
Yeah, like a test day, you know, and like nobody really kicked the shit out of me and beat me up, but like some guys I remember punched me in the body or kicking my legs, and you know, and they put me on a bag round for like 6 minutes and just go punch that bag as hard as you can for as long as you can until we say stop. And then they like, I remember it being funny, one of the guys, still a pretty good friend of mine to this day, but they put me on a ground bag, and so they just had a bag on the ground, and you just had to ground and pound. And I remember him, like, me getting tired, it's like 30 seconds left. Like, 30 seconds, Doc. You can pretend your ball's deep into the pussy. Don't give up. And so
what's that?
And I remember being like, what the hell are you talking? But I remember, like, that being one of the sayings. Like, oh, these guys are badass. Like, that's so funny. And just for some reason, I just always, like, getting growing up rough. Like, these guys seem like roughnecks like me. Like, they kind of all got it. And they seen how hard I came in and pushed that day. And again, that day I gave everything I fucking had, dude. I was sore for like a month after that.
Okay, so another pause, but
yep.
So you're saying this is like 6 months after your dad passed?
Yeah, 6 months. Within 6 months of my dad passing away.
You actually kind of like turned around and were okay-ish.
I was still struggling, and it was one of those things that, and I mean, I know there's, you know, Miss Dolly and there's other teachers that really helped me a lot. Mr. Heisey, Mr. Sweeney, that they'd let me either take it easy in the class or they would, you know, give me slack on some of the shit, you know, and they were kind of really helping me.
So
at this point I had a really
in the school year, what part of the school year was it? Just to like get
September. He passed away in September.
Right when
so
school
it was
started.
2 weeks of school. Yeah, 2 weeks within school, and then I took maybe all of September, the rest of September, and part of October, and then I came back and I wasn't sleeping nightmare. You know, like there was a lot of fucked up shit that was kind of going on, and I had to kind of come to terms with and figure out. And fighting was the only aspect. Again,
so then you probably started fighting in January-ish?
I trained for...
No, okay, what I meant is the training started. So 6 months from September.
October, November, December, January. Probably around February, March. It was right around March.
Okay.
So February, March, because it was just around springtime.
Okay.
And yeah, so I remember it was just around springtime because they were still running their... they had a little, like, exhaust fucking heater in there, and it was so fucking crazy.
So that kid probably had like a New Year's show.
Yeah.
And you saw that, and then you pushed him for a month or two or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, let's... And back then, it was Battle of the Barns, so they just show up and fight, you know. It was... And like I told you with my first fight, the guy, it was the same exact promoter, picked me up. They just called guys out of the crowd, they picked me up, weighed me. Okay, yep, you're on weight. I was like, okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, you fucking morons. Like, so many people could have got hurt back then. But, yeah, so, again, my dad passed away within 6 months. I weaseled my way in and kind of... And again, it was one of those things that made a goal, like, I want to do this, and I kept so focused and trying to change myself and making sure this was a goal. I could actually do this, and that kind of kept me grounded. And again, like I wasn't sleeping, and so I kind of just came out and told these guys, like, this is what the fuck's going on. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And
I need something.
Kind of guilt tripped them. Yeah, kind of guilt tripped them into it, and they were like, "We'll test you out, and if you're a pussy, you know." And
Okay, so
luckily,
after this 30 seconds of you being balls deep in pussy on the
yeah. I was, again, it was a test day. You know, we came in and did a couple rounds where, you know, I boxed with some guys that were, you know, older guys, and a couple of them, you know, they roughed me up a little bit. No head punches, anything like rough, anything. We getting body punches, and a couple guys were kicking me to kind of see if I was gonna, you know, quit. I made it through every single fucking round. And I was like, "Are you guys done for the day? Like, I want to keep, like, because I was so, and I was young and fucking, I was just gung ho, man. I was like, I'm going, and like I said with anything, I go fucking, I'm addicted to anything, and like, if I get into it, I'm going. And so I went balls deep. I was there every fucking day, man. Like I said, go balls deep as pussy, and that was the biggest thing to me. Is I'm going balls deep in this, and there's no turning back. And next thing you know, within, you know, 2 months, I'm trying to just tap out some of these guys that are 26, 27, been doing this for maybe a year or so, and people are like, "It's fucking good."
It's coming from my neck.
And then I was training for, I want to say 6, 7 months. This time I got in a fight with a guy actually in my town. My sister had a kid at the, when my dad was still alive. My sister had a kid, so I was 13. My sister was 16. She had her first kid, and she has cystic fibrosis. And so they're in and out of the hospital and stuff. And so a guy in town.
The kid did.
Yeah, her daughter, first, my sister's, and again her 3 of her 4 kids have cystic fibrosis. So the first 3 have CF. So at this time we were still young. I was 14, she was 17. You know, the baby was in the hospital for the first 6 months or so. You know, which was, it was really scary and really like hard time for our family. You know, and then baby gets healthy, has her 1 year, and my dad passes away. You know, so it was like
one thing. Yeah, right after another.
So we had the 1 year party in August. Passed away. So like August 23rd, he passed away like the 20th of September. So, you know, maybe a month after, you know, the newborn into eternity years. So it was a really fucked up time for our family. And a guy in town had actually said that, and again, it's one of those things, if you disrespect my family, you know, I told everybody that, and I'll be honest with everybody, the coaches of the gym, like everybody knows, like, it's how I am. Like, this guy was saying some stuff about my sister about how the only reason why the kid was sick was because my sister was on drugs. And so I took very, very offense to that, and I actually was talking to a guy that was on the team and was like, "Hey man, like, if you see this guy, tell this guy I'm looking for." And again, I'm fucking 14 years old at the time, 15 would be maybe at this time, you know, I could maybe just turn 15 or whatever, and so I don't even think I was maybe 15 at the time, but so I was talking to him, and it's like, "Hey, do you know who this guy is? Like, I'm looking for this motherfucker." And they're like, "Well, funny enough, we were just got a phone call. This guy's down at the beach running his mouth with some kids, and we were gonna go down there and smack him around, but we, you know, but they were older guys at the time, and we didn't want to deal with it." And I was like, "Take me down there." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Take me fucking down there." And I was like, I'll leave my fucking bike here. Take me down there. I'm gonna fuck this guy up. And so, of course, long story short, we go down to the beach, and at this time, you know, I'm gung ho. I'm fucking like, I want to say like 6 months, 7 months into training. I fucking balls deep in training, bro. I know I can fight at this point, right? Because I'm starting to tap out these guys now, and I'm starting to actually get like a groove in fighting and figuring out what the hell this was. And so we get down to the beach, and this guy's brother-in-law is there, and he's like, "You better leave, man. He comes back here and finds out you're looking for him. He's gonna fucking hurt you." And I remember looking at the guy, and again, my dad had passed away, but I steal all my dad's famous lines and being like, "You keep running around, I'm gonna fuck you up till he gets here." And he was like, "Well, I'm gonna call him right now." I was like, "Call that motherfucker." So he's calling on the phone, and again, I was super cocky. When I first started fighting, everybody knows how cocky I was. I used to grab microphones and talk shit to people. Like, that was my thing. And I was peacocking, you know, I wanted people to fucking, you're gonna remember who the fuck I am, you know. And it was one of those things that I got it from my dad. Like, "Man, you wanna run your fucking mouth?" And so he's on the phone with this guy, and I'm yelling, I'm like, "Tell that bitch to get down here. Like, I'm waiting for him." So the guy comes down, and I remember he, like, gets in my face, and I just asked him straight. I was like, "You say that shit about my fucking sister?" And he goes, "If you think I said it," and then he gets in my face, he's like, "Do something about it." And I remember being like, "If you touch me again, motherfucker, I'm gonna fucking hurt you." And I remember he did that thing where he touched nose to nose. Like I said earlier, you fucking touch me, it's fucking on. And I was wearing a shirt, and I remember taking the shirt, ripping it off with one hand and throwing it in his face. And by the time I threw it in his face, I started hitting him. So then it was on. We just started brawling. And again, he had eyebrow rings, and so I cut his. I hit him with an elbow. So I grabbed his elbow and boom, ripped all his eyebrow rings. Now he's bleeding everywhere like a stuck fucking pig. We're fighting, and I remember, like, at one point it was on the beach, right? So we like wrestling around. We get down to where like we're in the water. So like half my body's in the water. And I remember he has me like a makeshift guillotine, like with one arm in. I'm like, yeah. And at this time I was like, "I ain't gonna finish this shit. Fuck you." And I was a cocky little kid, but I remember that this part, like from here over, was in the water. And he was like in a guillotine, like choking me, and so like I couldn't really breathe, so I was like holding my breath the whole time. So I remember like kind of like picking up, like kicking out of the water, and I throwing him down. And I remember like pushing him down and jumping on top. And then I started elbowing him, boom, and somehow he like weaseled his way back to guard. But as I looked, I was covered in blood, he was covered in blood, and right away it kind of like snapped my head, like, "Oh fuck, this dude could die," like, cause there was like clumps in like the sand where there was like blood.
Oh,
like,
where it was like
like he was bleeding, like it was just pouring out of his fucking head. And we fought for maybe 7, 8, 9 minutes at this time, and he was dying.
Round 2.
Yeah, and I was ready. So at this point, I'm still ready to rock, but I see this guy like I think he's gonna fucking die. And I'm like a young kid. I'm like fucking 15 at the time. I was like, oh my god, I think this guy might die. So I get him down, and like, he's in guard, and I pulled his arms behind his back, and he's like trying to headbutt me. But every time he tries to headbutt me, like the blood is like splatting in my face. And so I'm like, dude, you guys get this fucking guy. Like I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. Like obviously he won't quit, but he's gonna fucking die. Like I'm gonna hurt him. And they're like, nope, finish the fight, blah blah. So whatever. So then we end up getting an argument. I told him like let me go, whatever. And he kind of like started getting my face again. I was like, dude, if you want to keep fighting, like hit me, but like look in the mirror, dude. Like we're both covered in blood. Like the cops are gonna be here anytime. Like you're gonna fucking die. Like we gotta get the fuck out of here. And his wife's fine. Like okay, let's get out of here. Again, this guy's 26 years old. I'm 15. His wife is like, we gotta get out of here. And so I'm like, all right.
Your mom take care of you, bro.
Yeah. So I ride in the car back to this guy's house. I try to wash myself up as best as possible. I ride home on my bike, right? Because I rode my bike. I was riding around town on my bike, and I fucking rode home on my bike. And I remember getting home, and I'm covered in blood. My mom and my brother-in-law were like, what the fuck did you do? Like, what happened? And I was like, you remember that Mancita guy? Like, yeah. I was like, I fucked him up bad. And I was like, the cops might be coming here. Luckily, they didn't call the cops or anything. But then after that, the 2 guys that I went to the fight with were on the fight team. So they told my coach, like, yo, we gotta get this kid a fight. Like, we'll pretend he's 18, whatever. Like, he's a fucking killer. We gotta get in there. And within, like,
so time out.
8, 9 months.
Before we get into your first fight, I gotta take a piss.
Okay, yeah, pause. Alright, yeah, we're good. Yeah. We'll be right back. We'll go to BRB. Jay Paulson's got to urinate. You're good, go ahead. Yeah, we'll pause it. Come back.
No, I've been waiting for a minute to fucking go. Ugh.
Technical difficulties. Again, this podcast is brought to you by our sponsor, Precision Detailing in Rochester, Minnesota, owned and operated again by Justin Cobol. You can also find them on Facebook at Precision Detailing LLC. After every podcast, we always share the number and the logo of his podcast as well as the Facebook link. So go ahead and check them out if you're anywhere in the Rochester area. Yeah, it does great work. So thank you guys again for sponsoring us, and we appreciate all the help.
You know, the other day he was telling me how busy he is.
Yeah, I heard he's pretty busy.
I think it's because of us.
I hope so, yeah. I hope we're bringing over that much of business. So, yeah, I took a little break quick. Jay Paul started to pee. Changed out a little bit. Sweatshirt and stuff. So, yeah, we're good. Now we're back on, and we'll get going. So, the last thing we're talking about again is I got in that little bit of street fight altercation. And, yeah, that was the last real street fight I got into. Mixed martial arts really helped me a lot. And, you know, they made me a different person. But so after that first fight again, maybe it was, God, I want to say it was maybe 6-8 months, somewhere around there. It was in July, so again it was, you know, 3 weeks before my 16th birthday, so I'm still 15. They actually found me a fight, and again I got in that fight, and the guys were like, dude, you gotta give him a fight, So then I really kind of.
So the time between that beach fight.
Yep, beach fight. Yep.
And your.
My first actual mixed martial arts.
Was it another 6 months?
I would say about 6 or 7 months. I want to say, because I want to say I got in that fight like early, like August, September-ish, and then we went through like the winter and all that, and then we came back in July. So maybe it was, you know, I want to say, yeah, I want to say it was August, 8-9 months, something like that. Like it was a while, but they had it in like the back of their head that they were going to fight. Yeah. This kid he's going to be something, you know, and. I think the guy, not my coach. So big thing too, I guess I'll preference right now is that I kind of forget this because it was kind of just a short little thing that happened. Is when I first joined the team, we had a captain and we had a coach, and so our captain is Kevin Gartledge. He's the one that was set up all my fights. He was in every one of my corners, you know, basically all my fights up until, you know, me and him and the team, you know, we kind of had a big split, and, you know, again after, you know, so many years that kind of happened, but. When we first started, though, the coach was actually a guy named Jeff Lewin. He was running the Rochester spot, and so there again, it was Team Crazy was at the time going in between Lake City and Rochester, and they'd been going on for a few years. Started mostly in Rochester, and then Kevin joined the team and became actually the captain of the team, and started changed his whole gym and everything. Got wrestling matches, changed that into his own little gym, and you know that's where we trained for 8-9 years, and we had, we brought out a lot of champions. Travis Brzezinski, we brought out a lot of really good guys. Logan Clark got to the UFC from training in that gym. But at the time, Jeff Bloom was in it, and again, it's one of those guys that, unfortunately he fell into some kind of an addiction or something, and he kind of got out of the game, and so Kevin stepped up and took over. And so when I got introduced, Kevin was the coach, and he was running the Lake City gym, and so he would let me go to the Lake City gym, and I wasn't working out with the Rochester guys at first. And so then as I kind of came in, and then when they first really kind of found out that like I beat up that guy, and they're like, we should get this guy in the cage, Jeff Lumen really started taking a liking to me, and that's where like the Prodigy name came from. He kept calling me like the Protege. It's like, if you win a couple fights, we can call you the Protege, and I kept going, I want to be the Prodigy. Like, I'm young, I'm gifted, I'm going to be the next BJ Penn. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to be the next BJ Penn. Like, I can do this, and I'm going to do it at a younger age. I'm going to my black belt, and so full of my goddamn self. And they were like,
you're still a blue belt, right?
Yeah. 4 stripes now. 4.
Come on, Dan.
4 stripes.
Oh, you can't look at the computer?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's fucking me up. But so anyway, Jeff Lewin was running it, and then they kind of started taking a little bit, and so then they started like taking me to like practices, and that's where I actually got to roll a Tommy Spear, and I actually choked out Tommy Spear. I was like 16 years old. Tommy Spears just got back from the Ultimate Fighter, and I choked him out, dude. Out, dude. Not like kind of out. There's 2 guys that were.
Wasn't Dan shaking my feet in practice?
Not that bad. Another guy was like, they rolled him over and he kind of like came to, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And I was like, I think I choked you. Dion, yeah. So, but that was the first, and his thing, Tommy, he did not want to tap out, but he came to the garage, when he came out, worked out. I just heard that we had a bunch of good guys. Logan was like, just winning a bunch of fights. He hadn't made it to the UFC yet, but he was like, on his way. Yeah, he was like on the way to being that prospect. He was like 8-0 or 7-0 or something at this time. And so again, I got to roll Tommy Spear. They started kind of bringing up, more guys and bigger guys, and we started coming up to actually the RCTC and working out there. And so that's when I kind of knew, like, oh yeah, these guys really like me, and I'm really going to be good at this. And then again, I was rolling Tommy Spear. I choked Tommy Spear. Like, oh my god, I choked out Tommy Spear.
How big was he?
Like 170, probably walking around 185, something like that. And again, it was one of those things where I was a lot better than everybody fucking, and for some reason I was a lot better than I should have been at that time, and a lot of people will attest to this too, is for some reason I picked up jiu-jitsu and I got really fucking good at it. I choked out a lot of guys and tapped out a lot of guys that I probably shouldn't have. But it's a lot of times they like, this young fucking skinny kid, I'm gonna choke
this
dude out.
You.
They double leg in with their head up, and I get your fucking neck, and even to this day I get your neck, I'm gonna choke you. Like it's very it's very, and everybody knows that shit. And we have really good defense at our fucking gym, because if I snatch your neck, I'm gonna try to finish you, and that's always. And I've jumped a guard so many times in fights, and again, I'd go from my guillotine to my armbar, and I usually finish the armbar, set up with a guillotine. But I can show you some videos of pretty slick setups. Like, look how sick that looks, man. That shit works. But again, like, I just fell in love, and I was tapping out people that I probably shouldn't. I was getting a lot of notoriety, and then they were like, let's get this kid a fight. And then I remember we actually had a falling out before my first fight between Tommy Spear and my coach Jeff Lumen at the time. And so I think Tommy then went over to Mario's gym and started training at Mario's. And so like a month or 2 before my fight, they had a big falling out. I think he's training at Mario's now. And so Logan actually was the headliner of the show. He fought a guy named BJ Lacey. I don't know if you know who BJ Lacey is, but he fought BJ Lacey's pretty predominant back then. They were like the guys that fought all the time, basically. He's like a journeyman, and now he's actually come back to fight Reese Hernandez. Remember that card that Reese was talking about fighting? It was BJ Lacey, the guy he's fighting. I actually fought Logan on the first card that I fought, but Kevin ended up having to go to Florida or something and do something, so he didn't coach me for my first fight. So Jeff Boone was in my corner. So we go to the fight, and again, leading the fight took a while. All this shit was going down. We get to the fight, and I ended up being like the 3rd fight. And I remember, again, we got there, and it was the same day weigh-in. So we walked there, I got in, and the promoter was like, oh yeah, you're the one, blah, 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 where's your mom? I have a mom sign the paperwork, all that shit. I was like, alright, well, what do you weigh? And I was like, I weigh like 154 or 153 or whatever it was at the time. Yeah, you can do that however you want it. You can move it back a little bit too. Oh, you just like just your face?
Well, when I was sat up, it was
okay.
things
You're good.
in the top of my head.
So, we're having feedback for some reason. What did we break, Jay?
What'd you do?
I don't know, can you hear that too?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Technical difficulties.
Always. There we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, now, all right. So back anyway. Sorry, damn it. We're still figuring out how to use all this stuff, guys. So we get to the fight. I get there. Again, Kevin is the guy that mainly I worked with, right? And I just started working with Jeff maybe 6 months before that. You know, again, he's more with the older guys, the more experienced guys. I'm the young kid, so Kevin kind of took me under his wing, and he was letting me work at his gym. So now I get to go to Rochester and move back and forth. We get to the fight. We had this big fallout with Tommy Spear. I'll kind of
wrap
back into that. But so we get to my first fight, and I remember the guy weighed me in by lifting me up. What do you weigh? I was like 154, 155. I think I was 153 at the time. I was like, when I walk around, I didn't make 55. And so he like grabbed me, picked me up, skipped your own weight. And I was like, who's the guy I'm fighting? And I remember pointing over to the guy, like, there's him right there, it's Riley Wading. And I had seen a video of this guy fight before. He fought and got choked completely unconscious in his fight. And it was by ridiculous choke. So my goal and our game plan the whole time was we're going to take this guy's back. And I don't know how we're going to do it. And there was different moves we were working. And I was working the BJ Penn too, because again, BJ Penn was huge. But he had a good thing where he would keep the guard, get a double underlock, and then he would scoot out to the side and pop the arm up, kind of like we do with Dan, or we do the same thing and kind of shuck and take the back. And so that we were working on a lot of different shit, you know. And that's where like the name of the Prodigy kind of started coming in. It's like, you work like Prodigy, blah blah. We call you the Prodigy. And I was like, I really like the Prodigy, blah blah. So we get to the first fight. Goddamn fucking.
You want me to hit that?
No, I don't know if it's gonna work. What,
shut it?
I think they're both shut. Or the one is for sure. Anyway, fucking podcast at the house. Here we go. So we get to the fight. They show me the guy and he's drinking, right? And so I'd seen the guy before, but it was like, you know, they disappointed the guy. But he was sitting there with a beer, and I was like, he's drinking. And he was like, oh yeah, that's what he's got to do to calm his nerves. You know, like we let him have one, whatever it was. You know, there was no fucking commission. Nobody gave a fuck. And as long as you're not drunk in the cage, you know. And again, people were doing coke, getting in the cage, just being fucking animal.
I remember hearing those little stories.
Yeah. So and again, obviously, you heard I told a little bit about my coach who was, you know, having a problem at the time, and that's kind of why he fell out. And so he was one of those guys too. I think would use it to get in the cage and rage. And I didn't know a lot about the guy. I just know a little bit that you know, maybe I worked with him for 6 months, you know, 2-3 times a week, maybe the most. And then, you know, after my first fight, he kind of disappeared pretty quickly. But actually, I heard he went to like, it was in California at some point, like directing some kind of porn or some shit or something. Yeah, I again, it's just crazy stories you hear about people that just, where that happened to that guy. And somebody's like, this happened. I was like, did you make that? That sounds made up. But so we get to my first fight. I did point out the guy, whatever, but I was like the third fight. So they have 2 fights. I go out there, and I remember coming out to the cage and coming out to DMX, one more road across, because I remember being like, my dad died, you know, like, I don't know where I'm going to go with life. This is, you know, this is one more road I got to cross to make sure that I'm the best, you know, blah, blah. And so it was a song that always got me pumped up at the time. And so then I get to the cage, we get in there, and I'm like looking across the guy, and I'm like, I'm going to kill this fucking guy. And I used to do this thing where I would like spin my hands for some dumbass reason, like they wouldn't stay, like I would like kind of parry him. Yeah. And I remember the guy came out and he threw an overhand right, bam, and cracked me, and I spun my head and I seen the light, and I remember being like, MMA. Whoa, yeah, like you want to be a fucking fighter, like here it is, and cracked me, and I remember being like, damn, I gotta attack this guy. And there's another fight where I did, there's probably a bunch of fights where I get cracked and I do this where I just kind of like slazzed out, and I just went after this dude, and I grabbed him, picked him up, kind of like I did for that kid at the last tournament, kind of bunched out the cage, and that's why I kind of started learning how to do that, which is by just rushing people. But I bounced off the cage, picked him up, took him down, and right away he was a wrestler, taking his back. And so I didn't have to do it. We already fucking worked, you know, for like the last 3 months that we had known that we were trying to get a fight, because we had set up like 3 or 4 fights that we couldn't get, you know, the commission, or not the commission, but the opponent. The promoter was like, no, dude, we can't let somebody that young, you know, maybe 17, you know, maybe, but they wouldn't. But then finally this guy was like, fuck yeah, I don't care. Like, will we take $50 for this fight? Like, you're gonna pay me to fuck, I'll take fucking 25. Like, yeah, I took 50, but so anyway, we get there and I get in the ring and the guy cracks me, right? Yeah. I was not good. I didn't care at the time. I was like, I just want to fight, prove it. And my big thing was too, I want to prove these guys in the team that all this hard work or all the shit that I do in the gym is not for anything. I come out and I want to fucking fight. And so that kind of went away. Some fights I get scared. But so what happened is we come out and the guy cracks me. I take his back right away, or I pick him up, take him down. He gives his back up right away. The wrestler goes on all fours. I take his back, choke him out. It was like 44 seconds long. Fight, right? And I think the whole time I'm like, oh, I'm gonna choke this guy unconscious, so I'm squeezing as hard as I possibly fucking can. And so he taps out. Look, you know, remembered from his last fight he was in, got choked unconscious. So I was like, okay, cool. He's gonna jump up. I win. I'm like, oh my god, I win. And when I jumped up, I did the grave digger. I don't know if you know what the grave digger is, but it's what Tito used to do. Yeah. You dig, and then you pull the body over and spit on it, and I did all that, right? And people were like, "What? I'm fucking."
Who the fuck is this 16-year-old kid?
Yeah, I was 15. I hadn't turned 16 yet. 15 years old. So then, like, I go out, and then I remember, like, Tommy Spear gets in the cage later in the night before, like, the main event and calls out my coach at the time, you know, because obviously Kevin was the captain, but he was the coach, and then he, like, came out and, like, they got in the ring and, like, got into it with each other. And I remember being like, this is so fucking awesome that, like, I love this aspect of, like, people, like, this reminds me of, like, again, WWE, where people were, like, getting at it, they were going to fight, and they had to, like, break them up, and, like, people had to, you know, they get kicked out of the show. Like, it was awesome. I loved that. And then Logan goes out, another guy that we're, like, you know, I trained with, and I just started kind of really getting to be able to see train and shit. And again, I want to say he was like 5, 6, 7, something like that at the time. And he goes out and just kicks the shit out of some guy for like 3 rounds. PJ Lacey, he was supposed to be a really tough guy, you know. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm with a perfect team, with a blah blah. And then from there, man, like within, you know, another month, I was out in South Dakota fighting, and I fought. My second fight was a guy named Beck Foamjack is his name. And he was an Asian guy. He had trained Muay Thai in, like, wherever the fuck he was from. Like I want to say he was, like, Thailand or Korea, like, somewhere, man. He was, it didn't speak he didn't speak any English, right? Literally didn't speak any English. Or they said that he didn't, and, like, his cornerman or whatever, like, he wants to try it. He's been doing Muay Thai since he was, like, a little kid. And so our game plan when we get there, because, again, it was one of those things where at the time you just showed up and fought. And they were like, this guy needs to fight, same weight, we take this fight. No, okay, how about this guy? He's the same way, you take that, and then we pick out the fights. And so we get in, we get there, and they're like, this is the guy, Muay Thai, whatever, and I was just like, what's fucking Muay Thai? And he was like, he's gonna, remember we do knees and elbows? Like, yeah, he's like, he's gonna try to knee and elbow you. And I was like, okay, and he's like, so we need you to get up there and pin him against the cage and just drag him to the mat, and if you can't get him to the ground, you just hold him against the cage. And so that was the game plan. Okay, Kev, I'm sticking with the game plan, you know, because now Kev's in my corner. This is the guy that I fucking trust.
This is your guy.
Yeah, this is the guy that I worked with, and again, all the way through basically all my career until, like, you know, the last few years, and again, that I can't thank enough for all the shit he's done. I finally sent a message telling him, like, thank you for everything he ever did, you know, and basically helped me, you know, become who I am today and get through all those hard times again. All that fucking bullshit that I went through, it was super hard, and I'm glad that he was there to help me. But we're in the fight, we touch gloves, and I shoot and drag this guy against the cage, and I'm sitting there for, like, literally the first 45 seconds, maybe a minute of the fight, pinning this guy against the cage, and pushing my head down, and me just leaning against there, just pinning there. We're not doing nothing. So then they separate us, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna kick me in the fucking head. So Kevin's like, take him down, Stock, take him down. So, like, we come out again, and he's, like, doing his little Muay Thai thing, he goes to throw a kick, and I, like, just dive in and take him down, and get him down, and then, like, I finally get him down and pass his guard. Didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, right? I get him down and mount, and before he can turtle, he's trying to, like, turtle, but I get him down and mount, and then I just start pouncing on him, right? So then he, like, rolls me over, and I get into a triangle somehow, and then I roll back over to a mounted triangle. So now I'm, like, in a mounted triangle, and there's, like,
beating the shit out of him.
Like 4 minutes left, and I remember, like, instead of doing, like, real punches, I was doing these, and I remember, it was like monkey punches, basically what I was thinking of. Yeah, like I was thinking hammer fisting, right? Like, because I see hammer, but I was hammer fisting right there. Like, that is not what like a hammer fist is like. It's a little different. Ooh, 4, 2, 1, 1, 7. I don't know what that one is. So anyway, I'm Donkey Kong this guy, and I remember, like, I broke his nose at this point with the punches and shit, and, like, I had him in the triangle, and, like, he ends up half an hour, ref stopped it, and I jumped out, like, oh my god, I'm 2-0, I'm the best ever. And then after the fight, I remember, like, getting an occasion, like, dude, that was so good, but seriously, never do these fucking punches again. Never do these punches. And they were like, you cannot.
Don't embarrass me like that.
Yeah, you gotta hit him or elbow him, and, like, you gotta throw, like, some real punch, because what they were more mad about is, like, one, it looked stupid, and two, I wasn't even really doing a lot. Like, I just felt like cracking this guy, or, like, hitting him hard. I was just like, like I was milking a fucking cow or something, you know? Like, oh my god. It's like, I don't know what the hell that was. So then we get to my third fight. My third fight's at, like, a crazy fucking, like, I won't go through all my fights, obviously, but just the couple first ones. And again, I'm, like, 16 at this time. I'm just turned 16, and I'm fighting, like, basically every other weekend, every month, you know, at least once, twice a month.
So you up to, like, 75? What are you at?
I am 71 fights.
Yeah.
So I'm 30. I just said it the other day. 38 and 33. Is that right? 71, 38, 33. I think is what it was.
I don't do math.
Yeah, because I was 38 and 32, and then I lost that last fight to that Anthony Beckham. But so then my third fight was at like, and at this point my family's like loving it. They're all rallied around. Everybody's buying tickets, and then now like everybody's like, oh my god, there's this young kid. Everybody's got to come see. So my coach actually starts throwing a fight at Meadow Valley, the motocross place, and so we got a big fight out there. And then my third fight, and I remember getting to the fight and being like, seeing my guy, and I was like, who's my guy? And he's sitting there on the bench smoking a cigarette, and I was like, I'm gonna smoke this dude. Like he's smoking that cigarette. I remember saying that, like being so cocky. So like I ended up beating this guy up, and not very long. And again, they were at this point it was just basically guys that just showed up to fight, and we were really training. So we always had like a pretty good advantage on a lot of guys. Like they'd set me up with basically anybody that wasn't training at the time. It was like, do you train? Yeah, we trained a little bit. Where you training? In my garage, my buddies. Okay, yeah, you fight stock. It's kind of like that. And again, I was 16, 15, 16. So they were like, we want to be nice, but we also want to get out there and actually get fights. So there were brawls, and shit. But at the end, I had some technique, and I had some shit that was rear naked choke, armbar.
You had a little bit of a.
I did a little bit of the edge always. We knew that I had a little bit of advantage, and whether it's good or bad, it's still, a lot of my fights are kind of handpicked, and for rightly so, and later in my career after I had, 20 fights, there was no handpicking, but none of my fights again were amateur at the time. I got paid for all my fights, and it was $50 here, dude. $100 here, $250 here, and then you got to give like, money to the coach for 10% for setting up the gym or setting up the fight. Then I got to give him gas money, and so like you weren't really making anything. But and I was in high school, just fucking fighting, dude. I wasn't even fucking close to being 18 or anything like that. So don't fucking audit me because I didn't get fucking money. I didn't really make. I'm not like the UFC fighters getting 4 and 4, But so I go and I won my third fight, and then we go back up to South Dakota where I had my second fight. When we get out there, and again, this is why I kind of call it the Wild Wild West. We get out there and there's no fights for me. But we brought me 3 other guys or whatever, and I'm expecting I'm going to fight. I'll fight anybody. I don't care who we're going to fight.
Your teammate?
And they're like, okay, well, here's 2 guys. This guy's like, Carlos Claudio is his name. And the last time we were out there, we saw him knock a dude out in like 45 seconds. Like, knock a dude stiff. I was like, I don't really want to fight that guy. He was a smaller guy, too. He's close to my weight. He was like 55 or 60. And they had a guy that weighed in like 72. And that guy had a bunch of fights, but we didn't really know it at the time. Like, they said that he had like 10 fights, and I was like, whatever, what ended up being he had like 13, 14 fights, and he won an amateur title or something at this point. And so I was like, I'll fight that dude. And they were like, what? I'm like, no, we think. And I was like, no, dude, I'm scared of that dude. Like, I'm not scared he's going to beat me up. And I was like, I'd rather fight this guy. And at this point, I was already scared of both these guys. Like, we went down there, we went out in the shadow, it was fucking dark, and all of a sudden come out, and there's 2 fucking guys. One's a knockout guy, one's fucking like 15, 20 pounds heavier than me, and I was just like, came to fight.
Yeah, I guess we're here.
It was like, but did I really come to fight? And then the video's actually online. You can see it's my first loss in my 4th fight, and I was 3-0, went out there, and I ended up getting Americana from full guard. I was in full guard, and he Americana me. And so he was like 6'2", I was like 5'7", and he fucking had, and honestly, I don't even think he had enough leverage. I just like let him get it, and then when I watched the video, I was like, why didn't I just swoop around and take his back? Like, I could have totally choked this guy, and I maybe won this fight, but yeah, no, I was totally mentally not there, and that was a big, and the reason why I kind of went to these first 4 fights, because the first 4 fights I was like young and dumb, didn't really realize what I got myself into. And then this one, I get in, I'm fucking full piss and vinegar, just ready to rumble. Then I got in this fight, and I was like, oh shit, I kind of realized what I was getting myself into. And then, I was already balls deep, I had already gone, this is 2 years into training, I'm fucking 16, almost 17 at this point, and I'm fighting, this is my 4th fight, so now I'm just like, I lost, I want to fight every fucking weekend. So then I kind of just went 1-1, 1-1, 2-2, and I lose a bunch of fights, and it was just, the big thing was my mental toughness, and just being young, and my thing was like, this is what I do, like, whether you win or lose, it doesn't matter, everybody's still proud of me, and I'm still going to keep kicking ass, I'm going to come out every time and try to fight as hard as I can. But there was fights too, I remember being like, Stocker gonna be the first fight of the night, and I was like, I'm not going out there. Like, what? Like, dude, I'm not going out there. Like, they called your name, bro. Like, go out there. Like, you train. Oh, this guy's never trained in his life. Remember how, like, this guy's never trained, bro. And it ended up being, like, I remember this specific fight. It was Carlos Claudio's cousin. The guy that I didn't want to fight back in the day. Yeah, it was his cousin. So I was like, I know this motherfucker's coming to knock people out, too. His cousin's a fucking turd ball, dude. So I let him beat me up in 58 seconds. I fucking jumped out, pulled guard, let him pass my guard, mount me, and gave my back up, and he choked me. And I was like, dude. And then I remember my coach being like, dude.
What the fuck?
What the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, you're so much better than this guy. Like, you're gonna be great. Like, if you just believe in your fucking self. But I just for a long time, I just could never get over that. And now that I'm finally being an adult and seeing all that shit and seeing like all the times he pushed me, I took kind of the wrong ways. Like I kind of was like, oh, fuck, I'm not that good. Now I like, fuck man, I wish I would have really excelled before my brain fell apart. Because I was under the impression that no matter how good I do as a fighter, I can always be a great coach.
Right.
I can always fight for 30 years and I have that resume of being a good coach. And unfortunately, it doesn't pan out the way you fucking see it too, you know. So long story short, I took a lot of fights. And while I was training and teaching, while I was training, I was doing a lot of teaching. You know, like we bringing new guys, and we had guys filtering in and stuff.
Did you have your gym in
Lake City? Yeah, after that, yeah. That was 2010. I had my gym.
Okay.
2011, something like that is when
so
I.
This is about
kind of
4 years into your fights.
I was. Let me see. So I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So yeah, about 6 years.
Okay.
6, 7 years in, something like that. Somewhere around there.
I forget, you're a couple years older than me.
Yeah. So I was, I was 21 or something at the time. So 21, 22, something like that when we had to fall out. But so we trained forever, and like I said, we bring in a lot of guys, and like there's guys like Travis Vicincy, Dan Kopp. There's so many. Jake Meyer, who's a champion. There's so many guys that we brought in that wasn't really coming in. That I would start teaching them, like here's a submission. This is what we do, you know. And so it's kind of like when they bring you guys into our gym on team, there's like kind of I would do that for the
you'd be their first meet.
And so I'd teach them like the jab and that shit, and I'd be at like the beginning and again, we didn't have coaches. Yeah. We had a captain, and Kevin never called himself a coach. He was always honest with everybody. He's like, I'm not a coach, I'm a captain. I'm a guy that took this over when everything fell apart, and I wanted to keep going. And like we do good because we work hard, and we do our drills, and we put in the fucking time. And a lot of times back then we would fight in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, like the shoot a box guys always have their stories like where they used to go hard. That's how we would do it. We'd start every day with boxing, and then we'd go to jiu-jitsu, because if we started with jiu-jitsu before we'd be too soaking wet to do a stand-up, so we can do stand-up. So we started every day, we'd do our warm-up, we'd do like the bows drill, we'd do some shit, and then we'd fucking just get into straight brawling. We'd go after it.
You didn't practice, you fought.
Yeah, and we'd hit pads in between. At the end, we'd spar, then we'd hit pads, and then
cardio.
Then some days we didn't do pads, some days we would just go in and brawl. And then we'd do our, an hour or whatever of jiu-jitsu, and that was 5 days a week at the beginning, and then it turned down to 3 days a week later at the end. But again, I was kind of coaching, so I was kind of figuring everything out and kind of helping, and I wanted to go so much that I was so balls deep in it that I wanted to keep going. And then unfortunately, we had some falling outs with some guys on the team that ended up not getting along as well. And we're boss, and shit happened. People decided to stop showing up to the gym, and then the coach Kevin at the time, he'd been doing it for so long, keeping it running, keeping it out of his pocket, and spending so much money and stuff that he just couldn't do it anymore. Then again, after one of my fights, we kind of had a big falling out where I didn't agree with the way at the time, and I see it now from his side. I wasn't empathetic with the situation at the time, and now I totally understand. But we just had a disagreement over a fight, and over some stuff that he had said to me after the fight. I was a little mad that he didn't give me props for the stuff I did do good. I'd won the fight, but right after the fight, the first thing he said was, "Why'd you do this?" And what it was I pulled guard going for a guillotine. And we had worked that was not going to do that, not get stuck under this guy, not have to play that bullshit and get beat on, like, we were trying to, because I had already had some concussions and stuff like that to this point, and we were trying to make sure that was, and
didn't happen.
And the thing was, he was looking out for my safety, and at the time I was just stubborn, and like, fuck
so
that.
hot-headed.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck that, he just wants me to fight his fight, blah, blah, it's my fight, blah, blah, but now in hindsight, like, I wish I would have fought him and fight a little smarter, not this community, so I got him so many hits to my head. But again, then we had our falling out, and then I did the same thing he kind of did. It's like, let me have all your stuff if you don't want to do this and you really want to do it. Like, let's bring all this stuff over to my gym, and I'll start, running classes, and you come over instead of every night, you come over a couple nights and teach. And then, it kind of just turned into that. Then we had another falling out about how, just some of the coaching aspect and stuff. And again, I was hard-headed, and I wanted to go one way, he wanted to go another, and he was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out already at this point, because losing the guys that we had lost, we had built some guys up to be pretty good at that point, and losing them kind of really took a toll on him, and it kind of sucked for a lot of us, and it kind of fucked up a lot of the stuff that we had put so much time into. So then I kind of took it over, and that's when I started my own gym, and basically I just took over again, so I didn't really start it, I just kind of kept it going.
Yeah.
And then I had to move it from where it was originally in my mom's house to my sister's house, and then I had that big ordeal with I had a friend at the time, and I think I told the story where, he, unfortunately, he had a drug issue as well, and for some reason, I want to help people out,
Yeah.
And so when I kind of got to that stage, and this is kind of, and we'll jump back to like my buddy and committed suicide and stuff. But I just want to get into this the part about the gym. And again, my buddy kind of had a drug problem, and he was in and out, and he ended up not showing up like 2 weeks before my fight. And I ended up getting hurt. Like, I had to call in some other guys, and guys that I didn't really want to work out with, but I needed to.
You need the bodies.
And I ended up tweaking, my shoulder, which is, now I still have problems with every now and then, and it sucks. It's something I've been trying to get better slowly, but it was in that training camp, and once I got hurt, I couldn't do anything. And then I hurt it again really bad in the fight, and I remember being in the fight, I couldn't get underhook. Like, I couldn't get my left underhook. I could get my butterfly with my legs, but I couldn't do anything with my arms. So I couldn't whip him. I couldn't do anything with, pull up ahead of me, nothing. I couldn't try to sweep him over. And I just remember being stuck, and that's the fight I always talk about, that Dan was in my corner, and it was that fight that I remember looking up at the third round and being like, looking at Dan, and this time I was already working with Dan and going back and forth and teaching at my gym and stuff, and I looking at him just being like, him like looking down and being like, God, this kid has so much more, but what the fuck was, and it was that same thing that I had got from my coach before, and seeing that from now my new coach, who I wanted to be the guy that I wanted to really start dedicating a lot of my time to, because I always looked for that guy, that figure, and I still look at Dan, just like I had Kevin, because I need that mentor and that guy to help me through, because
dude, the fighter-coach relationship is such a hard thing to find.
It's very, very hard.
Because you have to dedicate so much time to each other.
Yeah, it's something that really, really has to stick. But again, fighting with Kevin and stuff, I'll kind of jump back, is when I was 16, I was in the middle of my heyday fighting and stuff. My best friend actually ended up killing himself. And I didn't know that he was struggling or anything like that. So that's why I always bring up the suicide awareness and depression and stuff like that. And again, I had, what I would say about a year, of depression and stuff, where I was kind of in and out pretty bad. But, I don't struggle with depression on a regular basis, but it's something I definitely can relate to and have been, and so when I say I struggle with depression, I don't want people to think like I'm depressed all the time, and so when I say that, I just mean like at that time when I lost myself, and again, kind of going to where that fight was, I lost myself after that fight, getting hurt. I didn't really have an outlet. I kind of switched to drinking instead of training and playing pool, and again I go hard and some stuff. So once I get addicted, or I think I get into something, the best thing to do when you play pool is drink beer. So why not have
2-3 beers and you shoot your best, right?
Exactly. Why not have 10 games of pool, and the next thing you know, you go home when you can't hit the ball anymore. Okay, I'm going home. And at this time I was living at home with my mom. I was, spending the money from her and, borrowing money from her to go to the bar. And I just wasn't a good place in my life. And so that's kind of my bout with depression, was kind of just not knowing where I was in life.
Stuck in a rut.
But yeah, and when I was younger, I was so focused on training and stuff that I didn't really have time to kind of look at my buddy and figure out that he was going through a hard time. And I knew that he was going through shit, but it was one of those things, I think maybe I even said in the podcast again, but it was one of those things where it was like we were young and we didn't really know that he was struggling, or that he had. You were ignorant to the idea. That how hard it could have been, or for somebody else, because it was going good for me. Like, I had lost my dad, and so I didn't think that, like, he's not losing, not losing a parent. And
what is your problem, man?
Exactly, and you don't really realize that it's worse for some people than it was others. And I kind of felt like I was kind of being arrogant or ignorant to the situation, and it really kind of sticks with me nowadays. Like, fuck, I could have been there more for him, and that's why I try to help out as many people as I can, and just try to fill that hole of not being able to help him, which will always kind of be there. And again, that's why I kind of try to get back to this podcast, and that's where, my dad being addicted to drugs, I know that, my friend was actually, doing cocaine, and I know that actually kind of increased his depression and bipolar and stuff that he was struggling with, and so it only made it worse, and actually, that, and being young and having a girlfriend and being, fights, and your girlfriend cheats on you, or you cheat on her, whatever it was at the time, that it all was too much for him, and unfortunately he just didn't have the outlet that I was lucky enough to have. And so again, I kind of try to talk about that, just to bring that out and tell people about what I've been through, and how I wish I could have helped him more. So if I can help anybody out, I want to be able to help out. And again, if this only helps out one person, whether they're struggling with addiction, whatever it is, that's one person that I saved that I could dedicate to him, and his name with that. I couldn't help him, but I could help this person. And again, the Brody Stevens thing, every time I see shit like that, like, where he had so many friends and so many people that talk about him and deal with it, and and then just all of a sudden boom, he's gone. It's like I felt that hit me home so hard, and it was hard for me to not break down and cry just thinking about Trevor and this whole thing with Brody, and it just really hits me home. So again, that's kind of wraps into why I really want to do this podcast, and why I want to get out these causes so much, and not just do a podcast where I sit here and talk about myself, you know.
Right.
But I feel like doing this podcast, and I want to get it out a little bit more lately, is just I want people to realize who I am and what I'm about. And again, this is already going on 2 hours long, but it's one of those things that I hope people will sit down and listen to and really understand who I am and where I come from. You know, that why I talk about the trials and tribulations, because I've had the trials, I've had the tribulations, and I've had the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and I've been through a lot, and I've dealt with a lot of shit, and I've had friends that have dealt with a lot of stuff, you know, like you and myself, and a lot of people that are from a lot of different walks of life. You know, Dax with a big C, and there's just so many different things that people deal with that I can relate and get out to people. I can kind of just tell my story as well as, you know, relating to other people. Again, if this helps one person or 1,000 people, at least I'm out there trying to help somebody.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel better knowing that I'm pushing in the name of Trevor and you know, and what he meant to me as a person. Again, we weren't friends for very long, but when we were friends, it was one of those things where you meet somebody and you're instantly best friends.
Yeah.
And it was like that, you know, and I always feel like I wasn't the best friend that I could have been at the time, you know, being young, dumb, and so focused on fighting and doing all that stuff, and I didn't really give time to other people as much as I probably could have, or paid as much attention, you know. So again, if I can help anybody with this kind of wraps around back into that. But yeah, fighting helped me so much with all of that, because again, I could stay focused, I could stay driven. And when I lost my dad and I lost him, it was one of those things where you do get depressed, you kind of lose yourself, you don't really know where you are. But I was so lucky that fighting had me so grounded. And again, I think the reason why I fought so many times, I fought 30 times before I was 18 years old, and I had 30 professional martial arts fights. Like, I can't name, like, when I went into your fight, you know, no offense, everybody on the fight card, I had like twice as many fights as all those guys like
put together.
Yeah, like all those guys put together didn't have as many fights as I did.
Right.
And it was like one of those things where I laugh now how wild it was and crazy it was, but then when I look back at it and just realize how much it was helping me, and like every time I stepped in that cage, or every time I got ready for a fight, I cut that weight. It was like going sitting in front of a therapist and working out my thoughts, my feelings, and stuff like that. You know, so it's my own little therapy.
Whenever like I start having I realize something hard is coming up in my life, like I'm like, oh, this is either gonna go, I'm gonna be at the bar every fucking day, or I'm gonna take a fight, because I know that's gonna push me through these next 8 weeks, keep me focused on something positive, or however you want to put it. But
no, definitely, you have to keep your goal at hand.
My boss will tell me, like, when you have a fight coming, you're a totally better person, because like you're not doing that stupid shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep, definitely, and I definitely relate to that too, because, you know, again, I can put myself in a situation where I go to the bar or I go out, and I'd rather be at the gym or watching a video.
Yeah.
Something to get better, try that at the gym, and get coming home and get so deep on this, because if it's not jiu-jitsu, it's going to be, again, something probably not as positive as jiu-jitsu. It's going to be something negative, and to me, you know, I'd find myself back in, you know, getting in fights, at the bar, or finding myself, like, in situations that I shouldn't put myself into, you know. And right now I'm pretty grounded. You know, where I'm at in life, I'm very, very happy and very, very lucky to be. And again, a lot of that is due to martial arts and the great people I have around me. You know, my mom, Kevin, was a great help. My brother-in-law, my sister, you know, all my family. And it's kind of something that I kind of maybe will get into a little bit. Was, you know, I talk a lot about my dad, but I don't really talk a lot about my mom. You know, and the reason why I talk a lot about my dad is because I feel
like
a
part 2 podcast.
Yeah. We're gonna cut this up again. This is, you know, 2 hours long, but I just want to make sure that I definitely say that my mom was a big help in helping me get into martial arts and helping me find a way. And she's always wanted to tell me to find my outlet, you know. And she always let me do backyard wrestling and jump off the goddamn island in the house and shit, just because she knew that it was keeping me out of trouble and I was staying home, and she knew I was. And you know, knowing how lost my dad was and where he was in life, and how up and down and chaotic his life was, I think that knowing that I could be grounded and be at home and
you're gonna find your peace through the chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that I've talked to a few people about that.
And growing up, you know, I didn't really realize that until I got to jiu-jitsu and really started focusing with Dan and giving him that key and really putting that on. And again, I mean, I fought for better half of 10 years or something, you know, before I got with Dan. And I fought for tried for another 2, then I got into my concussions, and again, you know, and I mentioned it before, like, I had some fights where I had some brawls, man. I get in there, and we'll get into that. I have some of my greatest moments again in May, but that might be a different one we'll have to do for a different day. But just some fights where I got in there and I put it all on the line, you know, and it was one of those things, like I said, like, I thank my dad, like, here we go, bud, let's go, let's go, we got this. And his big thing was get her done. He loved
The cable
The
guy?
cable guy, yeah. So, you know, right before you walk in the cage, you know, you hear him in the back of your head, get her done, boss. Let's fucking go. And we're ready, and the hands are taped, you know, I'm ready, and I get that adrenaline rush just thinking about it, you know. And there's so many times where I remember walking out and I'm hearing playing that song and I'm just looking up and being like, I know he's there, let's go. Like, we're gonna make him proud. We're gonna go out there. And honestly, those are some nights where I go out there and I just fucking put it on some people, man. And just knowing that he has my back, and you know, you live on your shield, you die on your shield, you know. Like, either I'm gonna carry that shield back or they're gonna carry me back on that shield. It's like, it's one of the two, you know. And that's why I love fighting so much. But again, that mentality and that kind of led to those multiple concussions. And again, when I had to retire fighting, we'll kind of just jump through this pretty fast, but I had to retire fighting just because I had multiple concussions in the same year. And so what I was having mild concussions, and so they'd be there for a week and gone. I'd have symptoms for a week, you know, but it's something that you
Your brain
read.
needed more time to heal.
Exactly, yeah, and it was something that you couldn't read on like MRIs or anything like that. And so when I first went in the first time, I was driving home from practice, I got really sick and started throwing up. I remember I threw up all over like my fucking steering wheel, like all over my car, you know, all over my bag and shit. Like I couldn't control my, and it just hit me out of nowhere. And so that night I actually ended up in the hospital with what they were calling dehydration and shit. And so they said I got food poisoning. But at this time I was, and it's still like today, like I know exactly what I eat. I know exactly I buy the same shit. You know, like I don't waver away from my diet very often. And I was like, no, I remember what I ate. Like I know, like it couldn't have been food poisoning. You know, like so to me it didn't add up. And he's like, no, you got all symptoms of food poisoning. So then when you kind of
like,
Google
realistically, this brain stuff research hasn't been around till the last 3 years, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and CTE and all that stuff's really big, you know, maybe the last 5 years, but the last years where they're really figuring out, you know, seeing all these guys, like a guy, Jordan Parsons, he was rest in peace of Jordan Parsons, he was a fighter from Minnesota that actually was out in Florida training and got hit in a hit and run, and they killed him.
Yep.
And they actually did a study with him and said that he had the worst case of CTE that they ever seen in somebody his age. And he played like lacrosse and stuff, and had some really good battles. And I think he played in college even, and then came into fighting. And so it's one of those things that nowadays they're just trying to see what concussions were. And so when I was back then, they didn't know. They told me it was food poisoning. The second time they told me it was dehydration. And I thought you're getting sick because you're dehydrated. Every time you drink something, you're drinking too much, and you just throw it right back up. And I was like, this doesn't make fucking sense, dude. So I ended up in the hospital 2 different times. And then the third time I started going to a specialist, and like I think it was hospital the third time. The third time I was like, I'm done.
Something's wrong. We need to figure this out.
Yeah, so I went to a specialist, and the specialist was like, we can't see anything. They did CT, MRI, like everything we think of, and ended up being that they couldn't figure out what it was. And so there's actually a fighter that TJ Dillashaw, weirdly enough, actually beat up in the gym at Team Alpha Male.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head.
I remember the story. The guy that got the concussion, and he's been out ever since.
Yeah, and he's never able to fight again because he got a concussion, didn't heal correctly, came back, got 2 more concussions kind of in a row, and then he it's never been like the same. And unfortunately, that's what happened with me. And they didn't know because again, the guy I was going to wasn't like a neuro specialist or anything. You know, it was just a basic doctor. You know, and the guy that was running CT scans and stuff. And so by the time I would go in, you know, I'd be in the hospital for a day, 2 days. You know, I'd go in the following week. The symptoms for mild concussions already gone. And so I heard about him, that happened to him, and then TJ Grant at the same time had the same exact thing. Another UFC fighter had the same exact thing. He had a fight. Was supposed to come back to the fight, ended up getting a concussion again, or he got knocked out or something in a fight, got a concussion. Got a concussion again in training, and then again, like, just couldn't stop getting concussions every time he was getting hit. He's already
he hit his bum the last time.
Yep, and that's the same thing that happened with this other guy. I want to say his name's Chris, but I can't remember his goddamn name. Dang it, but the guy from Alpha Male again, and it's one of those things that just, you redline your brain, and you hit it too many times, or cut weight too many times, and it just, now every time I get hit, or I do get hit, or would get hit or something like that, it would come back, you know. And I remember the last time it happened was with Heath, and that was the third time I ended up in the hospital, and that's when I really started doing research on fighters and stuff like that, and I found out these guys' story, and it kind of really scared me. So I did 1 fight after that, and then I took one a few years later after that, just to kind of see how I was. And to be honest, I felt perfectly fine in that fight. I felt like I would have done a lot better in the fight, but mentally I wasn't there. And it was one of those things where, like Brendan Schaub was, and I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And
you were too worried about the
head,
the problems.
I remember it came out, and he kicked me in the head the first time, and and I'll put this on the record now. It's one of those things where I wasn't mentally there, and he rocked me the first time, and he kicked me, and I was like, oh fuck, my brain's like it was okay. That's cool. I mean, I got him in his cage. He kind of elbowed me a couple of times. I remember elbowed me like because it went to the second round. I remember being like, all right, that's cool. Like, but I can't keep getting hit in the head. Like, what if I get this concussion after the fight? I'm puking, you know. And then in the fight, I'm thinking as I'm getting hit, you know, this should never be anything you're thinking in a fight. I should be thinking, get the fuck up and get this guy, you know. I used to, you know, but now I'm too worried about all this, and so we come out in the second round. He head kicks me, boom, right away, but I block it, bam, and I remember being like, all right, that's cool. He head kicks me again, boom, and I kind of stumbled back, and I remember my back foot kind of gave away, and I went fucking rocked.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking in my head, like, just sit down and just tap out. And it was like, he's going to swarm you and just tap out. It's like, you don't need this for your brain. It's like, it's not good. And the second my leg gave out, my whole entire body was like, no more. There's nothing in my body that wants to do this anymore. And so I knew that physically my brain and my body wouldn't do it. Even if mentally, you know, and spiritually I wanted to keep doing it, there's nothing inside my body that would keep my body keep going.
Yeah.
And getting rocked and you know, not being 100% there, knowing that I probably wouldn't have got rocked if I was just going after this guy and not be intimidated, worried about being hit and then getting hit and then, oh shit.
When you're that half second slow.
Yep, and I went down and I tapped and then he swarmed on me. And again, I mean, I probably could have survived, you know, but at that point there was nothing mentally.
There's nothing left to prove at this point.
Yeah, I was down and I tapped out and I got up, and it was one of those things where I knew deep down inside, yeah, it sucks I lost my last fight ever, but this is my last fight ever.
Yeah.
And again, it took me up until just, you know, what, 3 weeks ago? How long was your fight? How long ago was
it was about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago until I went to a fight again.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can go to just tournaments, stuff like that, because I can for some reason differentiate that. But when I get to the cage and I'm getting them in, again, you could hear me in the corner. I was screaming at your guy.
Yeah.
You fat. You're out of,
I thought you were gonna come and take him out for me.
I was like, and I was thinking in the cage, sitting there like, I'm gonna fight Matt. Like, what's his Ash Majak? Like, I'm gonna fight. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, I'm fighting this guy. And now I'm screaming at him in the cage, like, wait, you know, motherfucker, you fat ass, you may wait, blah blah. And it's like, there's no reason, but again, it's that ego in the back of my head, and why I don't take myself.
See, I was gonna bring this up. We've done a few sparring rounds.
Yeah.
And we'll start off nice and light, and I'll fucking just see that switch flipping you, and I'm like, oh fuck, Ryan's here. Yeah, and then 10 seconds later, I'll be sitting on the ground holding my guy, going, ah, oh,
dude, and honestly, that was the first time since my fight that I had sparred, and I hadn't put.
But like even back when we used to spar, I could see that switch turning in you, to just like.
There's that bam. All right, now it's on. All right, yep. 1 for 1. All right, 2 for. Now I'm gonna get.
I could see that exactly. That was at that roll of the shoulders. I'm like, oh, he's coming.
Yeah, and you can see me getting that feeling in the back of my neck right now, and just like I'm ready, man. Like, and again, that's why it's so hard for me to go to fights and do this shit, because I balls deep, man. That's, you know, it's like I can't do anything half-assed, especially fighting. And that's why, and I gave that lecture too, where we were talking about one day about, you know, if you're gonna be a fighter, do it wholeheartedly. Don't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If you're gonna do it, go for it. Like I said, I don't think CTE or anything like that is going to deter anybody to fight, but if you're going to do it, you better get out there and do it 100%. Find a good team, find trainers that are reliable, find people that are going to really take care of you and really mold you into a great fighter, you know, and really push you to be the best fighter you can be, you know, and not...
No, like when you were saying you had that little falling out with your coach because he critiqued you or however you want to put it.
Yep.
Like, dude, that's like me to myself right after a fight. Like, I don't even look at the good things I do. I'm just looking at everything I did wrong, just because, like, those are the things that I want to get back and start fixing right away.
And I was too young and dumb at the time.
Yeah.
I realized.
Like, what? Now I'm almost 30, and, like, now I'm starting to realize this shit.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And again, that's why, like I said, and maybe I said it on this podcast, you said so much shit on this one, but I've said it before that when I go out to these tournaments and stuff, and now I go out there and I put it on these guys, you know, like my last tournament, man, like that's a representation of who I am as a person, what I can believe in and what I do. And the tournament before that, I just didn't put in the time and work. I didn't deserve to win that 55 tournament, and I knew that on the ride up there. Like, I don't deserve to win this tournament. I don't like whole matches, but I don't deserve to win this. And, you know, I got stuck with the guy that did deserve to win that tournament, you know, and I knew going into the 45-pound tournament, I put the time in, and I deserved to win this, and that's why I kind of came out there, I turned it on, and I put it on, and I really got to show who I am as a person and as a martial artist and actually show my skills. So I was very happy to be able to go out there and actually show people and do it on this podcast platform to where people actually got to see it, you know, and kind of share it out a little bit. I'm not just all talk. I can actually go out there and and I'll put it on
I still
the
got
line.
this shit.
Yeah. Even though I'm not getting punched or punching anybody, I can still still go out there and I'll still die on my shield if I have to, man.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things that I definitely appreciate. I can't appreciate or I can't thank and tell you guys enough. You, Justin, Dan, everybody getting behind this whole thing. It's amazing for me because again, I've been through a lot of shit. I know everybody else has been through shit. Justin and his family, they all go through shit. You've been through stuff, Dan, everybody all gone through stuff. Dax is big brother, Travis, all these people that have done these podcasts and people that we're going to get, we're going to get Austin on, and we're going to actually talk to him and figure out some shit that he's went through and some ups and downs and I know
with a career like that, you have to go through shit.
Yeah, and he's a wild man. He's got had a wild life, so I just feel so blessed and so lucky. And again, I can't thank everybody that's willing to be a part of this to tell my story, and especially you today coming in here and talking to me again for it's 2 hours and 20 minutes now that people are hopefully going to listen to at least.
You gotta get to the end of this one.
I hope so, man. I hope it's a good one, and you really realize that the shit that I've been through, man. There's so much more again, like my greatest, MMA moments and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that we have written down over there that we could talk about, my goals and all that stuff, and which, with I'll kind of get into my goals there before we end this out, just so everybody kind of knows about the podcast and what we're doing. With, my training goals and stuff, obviously my big goal is to be a Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I think we both are well on our way to achieving that and making sure that
Dan told me I'm going to be a forever blue belt.
Yeah. That sucks for you, but I think I'm well on the way at least. So, my goal is to be a black belt, but my long-term goal is black belt, a coach that is a black belt that...
You want the professor stripes.
Exactly. I want to be a professor. I want to be able to travel around and train at gyms and teach gyms and run seminars and be able to do things that a lot of great black belts are able to do, and know that I put the time and the effort into that. And I'm going to go on Damon Hill's podcast too, and I'll put it out here right now that I think that right now in Minnesota, I'm the best blue belt under 150 pounds. If you're 150 pounds or under, I think I'm going to beat you. I don't care. If you can make 150, I'll smoke you at blue belt. I think I am the best in the state right now at blue belt at under 150 pounds. And, purple belt as well. I'm down to go to war with any purple belt, 150, 155 pounds and under, that 55-pound weight class doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a big jump for guys like me that walk around at 53. I don't even, people are kind of cutting down 55, so that 50, that 45 weight range, blue belts, purple belts, brown belts, I'm willing to put, like I said, I'm willing to go to war and put what we do and what we train on the line, and so my short-term goals are to get that purple belt and go after these purple browns and eventually start winning some of these local tournaments like our coach Dan did, to kind of follow in his steps where we win a lot of stuff.
Because they're starting to have a lot more BJJ shows. Like, I remember the one that they just said, the Poorhouse, I think it was purple and up.
Yep, it's a purple and up, and they have the fight to wins are coming here too. And you got to be purple and up to do that as well. So they do have some exhibition matches for blue belts and stuff. But again, I'm not here to mess around. I'm here to be a top 10 purple belt right when I get my purple belt. And if you think you're a top 10 purple belt, I'm willing to do,
this is the official call.
Yeah, this is it. I'm going to do it again on the Damon Hills podcast, but I think that I'm the best there is at 150 pounds and under. And, if you want to be brown, black, whatever, and you think you're better than me, that's fine. You put in a lot more time, but I'm still willing to go to war with you. Yeah. We'll do a no time limit submission only. If we go for 2 hours, we go for 2 hours, but I'm willing to go out there and die on my shield against anybody. If you submit me in 15 seconds with a leg lock, you submit me in 15 seconds with a leg lock, but know that I'm willing to go out there and go to war, and I'm going to put in the time. Right. So my goals for Jiu-Jitsu are, to go to war and then to put my team and us on the map. And then make a good
I think we're well on our way to being on the map.
As well. I think we're already there. We're just getting bigger and bigger, and our blip is getting bigger and bigger every day. Yeah. But I'm going to go out there and I want to make a name for myself, so when I do get that black belt, that I do have the credentials to be able to go around and teach it and do the things that I want to do and be kind of a nomad for that first year. Get my black belt and just kind of travel around and teach it in any gym I want or train at any gym I want. And then obviously long-term goals, I'd love to do, open an Imperial Academy, separate from the one that we are doing now, and hopefully we can blow up enough to where we have different academies like Brockton would start where they have 4 or 5 under that,
Have that.
And we are under the start banner again, but then, I'd love to do is start BJJ/Imperial, whatever is east side of Rochester or whatever it is, you know what I mean? I'm one in the city, something, wherever it is, but that's definitely my goal, is to be a teacher and own a gym. And then with the podcast, my goal is to just get to know people as much as possible, man. And I'm finally sharing my story today, so we can finally get past that. That's past one of the goals. We're finally there. I got to know Jay. I got to know.
You guys know the people now. Everybody gets to finally know you.
Yeah, now everybody gets to know me. We got Damien on, who's somebody that's away from our gym. That's completely different. And he's doing his own podcast.
And like when we were talking the other day about some of these future guests that we want on.
Yeah. I mean, we
those
can
got
name
me
some
excited
of those too.
just sitting there thinking about that
some
shit.
of the ones I want to get.
TC's
the number. Yeah, definitely after we do the wrestling, micro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do TC. I'm gonna try to contact TC and set that up.
I want Gene. Dr. Gene,
maybe his wife. Even
yep,
we could travel to them as well.
Yeah, because they're in
there was one more. Who was the other one we wanted to get?
We were talking about Chris.
Oh, yep, Clevetter. Yep. That's who it is. After I was gonna say somebody else to do the podcast, but I can't think of it. But
yep.
I never listened to his podcast because it's probably garbage. Keep Chris. No, we definitely want to get him on it. And
yeah, I feel like that'd be really fun too.
Him and John, and I'm pretty sure John, the other half of that, just got his black belt. So I mean, they're
of their podcast.
Yeah,
because I don't think I've ever met him.
I think I did meet him once, but it's one of those guys that like you kind of just like, hey, how are you?
Yeah, I still remember the first time I met Chris, so I'd like to tell that story on the podcast.
Yeah, I think he's ref a couple of my fights. Maybe if not, he's definitely been a ref.
Because this is back when he was still just a commissioner.
Oh, before he was even ref.
Yeah, this is my James Clark fight.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one. Yeah, so again, the big things for this podcast is
we can get Travis on.
Travis.
Mettler.
Oh,
the ref.
Oh yeah.
He's a star guy. That would be an easy one to get.
Yeah, Travis for sure. We're gonna get him on it, and again we'll go with Brock. We're gonna get Brock on.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony. This weekend, tomorrow we're gonna go up and we're gonna get Austin's interview.
I thought that was Sunday.
Saturday? God damn it, Saturday. You got me all throw off now, and then because I got a bunch of privates in the morning, and then I gotta go right to lacrosse. But I don't know if we're gonna be able to train there because he wants to do it at 3:30.
The podcast?
He's training from 2:30 to 3:30 now, and so we'll go at.
So they're not doing the training at
4:30. Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna stay after that. So.
Okay. Are the other guys gonna stay and train?
I don't know. I haven't been able to talk to Travis. After this, when we get off, we'll talk to Travis and see whatever he wants to do. But with the podcast, big thing is we're gonna have, again, Austin Healage is coming up tomorrow. That'll be this week. And then this weekend coming up, the following weekend, the 20th, we're going to have
micro wrestling.
We're gonna have our interview and post.
Do you know what day that is?
Saturday,
the interview.
Saturday the 20th. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
same day.
Yeah, it's right before the show. We got to meet him at 7. The show starts at 8, I think. I'll look back there.
Were you doing it at the venue?
Yep, at the venue right before the show. So
I suppose we could talk this off air, but
yeah, whatever. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out.
After that, with the micro wrestling, we're gonna try to get TC, and then we'll talk to Doc G and see if he might be interested in. And then, of course, Chris Clevetter and maybe even his partner John, get them on. It's been working really well, but
Gene and Christine.
Yep, and then we'll figure out some more guests after that. If anybody has any guests or anybody that they want to
come on. You could get James on.
Clark. Oh, we could definitely get James on, and he just got back from Ireland too. We could talk about his. Yeah, well, maybe he's not back yet, but he's definitely. Because I seen that he was teaching in Ireland. Yeah, we should definitely get him on too.
And like he's got a pretty cool. Because he was a SEAL.
Was he? And dude, I don't know if you know, he had a bunch of world records, like not Guinness World Records, but yeah.
That's the one thing I found out when I googled him when I was setting up for the fight. Like he's got the world record for pull-ups and sit-ups. Like
he used to have he'd end on he was the first guy that I seen this, and then I noticed a lot of other professional guys do this too. He would have an odd number. He'd end on 3,553. It would have to be a 3 or a 6 or whatever number, but it'd have to be and 3.
Yeah.
So it'd be 1,203, so every time. So it's he's definitely a good guy we're going to get on too. So James, if you're listening and you want to get on, it's 3 hours in, but hopefully you guys are still here. And, we'll definitely want to get you guys on. So I don't know, is there anything else you got for me, Jay, that you want to get asked? Or?
Well, you talked about your greatest moments. I want to know about the hardest moments in MMA.
I would think
or jiu-jitsu or your martial arts.
The hardest moment definitely would be, my hardest moment in my life up to this point would definitely be losing my dad and kind of having to overcome that. So just in life in general, overcoming that, and losing my best friend on top of that 2 years later, where I really was still kind of bent and raw from losing my dad, And so it was really hard. So those years were really tough, and I put in a lot of fights, and mentally, I wasn't really there, but the physical and the atmosphere of being able to do that was awesome. But I would say my lowest point in fighting would be those concussions and just figuring out that I couldn't fight anymore.
You were walking away of it?
Yeah, and that was, I think, up to this point in my life, that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do with mentally and just spiritually kind of come up with that, the notion that I'm never going to do that again. I put so much time and effort into it. And
It's still my scariest day that I'm gonna have to come to one of these days.
And dude, it's hard for everybody, man. It's one of those things that unfortunately I didn't have anybody like me there, but when you get to that point, when I tell you, I'm gonna let you know, like, you got so much more, and if this shit starts blowing up, man, you're getting out. I'm pulling the plug on you early, boss, because we're not gonna let, we're gonna do the Brendan shot where we get fucking famous and we don't have to get hit in the head anymore, But again, like, when you see, like, I mean, this fucking fighting shit, man, is posted behind you, like, all this shit, like, that's all I think about. These books, they're holding up to fucking magazines, they're all fight books and shit,
I think I still have your BJ Penn book somewhere at my house.
No, I think I still have that one. Yeah, BJ Penn's right here. You have a different one.
I have a different one.
Yeah, but no, but again, man, it's a part of my life, and it always will be, and it's such a big thing that's helped me. I can't thank guys like you and Dan and my coach originally, Kevin Garledge, even Logan Clark and those guys, Travis Sinski, Jake Meyer, all these guys that helped me. Guys like Damon Hill that are willing to do the podcast, that have nothing to do with anything that I'm doing, they're just willing to help me out.
Dude, this martial arts community is one of the best ones.
It's amazing, and I feel like we lucked out, man. We hit like the heydays. Like a lot of people talk about they hit the heydays of like comedy and stuff, but I think we hit the heydays of mixed martial arts, and we're at the best it's ever been. And everybody's coming together, and we're all trying to figure out what the fuck do we do if we stop punching each other in the head. We're all trying to figure it out together and come to grips that we can't do this as long as we all thought we did. We're not all going to be as great as we thought we were going to be, or as we hoped we would be, and that we had to find an outlet. And a lot of us have different outlets, not just being punched in the head or choking people. Again, my outlet is going to be teaching, hopefully, and doing this podcast, and this is something I'm going to put a lot of hard work and time into, and it's something that, at the end of the day, I think people
still got that coach school going.
Yeah, I'll definitely be a coach, and I'm always pushing towards that, right at the end of the day with this. I think that, I think people really respect it because they'll see the hard time that I put, or the hard work and time I put into it, and the blood, sweat, and tears that I'm going to put into this, and, all the people have liked and shared and talked about it in person or told somebody else about it. I know Damien was talking about how he's playing at the bar, wherever he was at, went to the bar and put it on the TV there, and all the people that have liked this, talked about it, shared it, listened to it on audio. Again, we're on audio podcast right now. Again, finally,
did you talk about the Podbean?
No, we will at the end. I'll do that. That's all.
Okay.
And I'll do our sponsors with that, and then I'll do that as well. So. But I just want to thank everybody, and if you are listening to this podcast, again, this is one that really means a lot to me personally, because again, it's about my story, and I finally get to tell, what I've been through and where I've been at. And again, we kind of went through a lot of time in this one, and I can't appreciate and thank you enough, Jay, just for being here and spending this goddamn whole day here talking to me and listening about myself. And a big thing is I want to get a lot of podcasts out before I talk about myself, because I want to get people to realize what is about this, and not that it's just about me. But now I think people are really interested in, like, well, you keep asking all these people questions, well, what about you? Answer the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I'm here, and if anybody else that's listening to this or watching, again, now finally we get an audio podcast and visual, if you have questions, anything you guys want to know about me or from me or anything about that, or, Jay Paulson, just make sure you guys send us a message. You can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, now Twitter. Our Twitter's a little weird, though. It's actually, it's Look At Me Now Wow, so it's at Look At Me Now Wow on Twitter, Wow Look At Me Now on Facebook, and then Wow Look At Me Now _ podcast on Instagram. Again, we have YouTube. You can look it up, Wow Look At Me Now podcast. It usually comes up right away.
I was just saying, when I looked at the Podbean, it was the first one that came up after I put Wow Look At.
Yeah, Wow Look At, yeah, and then again, now we have our audio, and you can either download the Podbeam app, which is again Podbeam, Podbe.
When I was trying to navigate on the website on my phone, anyways, it was a little difficult. But as soon as I downloaded the app, it was super easy.
Yep. And if you do check back and you want to do just not the app, but the actual web page on your computer or whatever, and you can also click on it on your phone and go just to the website, click on your phone, play the apps, or just play the podcast. And then you can just close your phone. You don't even have to have the app. It'll just play right through your phone. So you don't even need that. What's that?
Ghost houses.
Yeah, we can.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Yeah. And so again, Podbeam, Podbean, Podbean. You can find us at Wow Look At Me Now podcast. It's again, you'll see my face. We got a nice sweet little logo. You can actually see it down here in the corner. But if you're not looking or watching this podcast, it is the logo that's on Podbeam, so you're probably already there, and you don't need to, but you don't need to follow that instructions because you already know where you are. But if you're not and you want to watch us on YouTube, again, we're now on YouTube. And again, thanks to Justin Coball of Precision Detailing. He's been a huge help, and I can't thank you guys enough for listening to this. And hopefully, if you guys do, stick around and listen to this for the whole segment of it, that you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe to any of our pages, and just tell people about us and tell people about my story, and hopefully that I can relate to some people. And a lot of this is stuff that I'm going to be getting out. And again, my sister's kids do have cystic fibrosis. That's something you can look up on Facebook, Google, any of that stuff. On the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is a really great cause, and they're doing a lot of good things for that.
Run you have going on right now?
What's that?
The donation run on the page?
It could be, yeah. I do have a link to that as well, usually. And then there's one for...
I've been seeing it slowly grow.
Yep, and there's one for epilepsy as well.
Okay.
We have one that's on there. I don't know if I have a donation link to that yet, but I did share the Cobal's donation link again. So they will be doing a walk, and if you guys want to donate to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, epilepsy awareness, any of that stuff, make sure you guys go ahead and check out that stuff. It's some stuff that's really close to home to us, and
yeah,
we have a student that has epilepsy, and she's a really great student. Her whole family is amazing. Again, they're the Cobals, and they help us out, and they're going to be doing a walk here in August, I believe.
August 1st.
August 1st, so we'll be a big part of that, and we'll have a big team. So if you guys want to
donate
or get a hold of any of that stuff, again, it's Justin Cobal at Precision Detailing. So again, you can get a hold of him for getting your car detailed. You can find him on Facebook at Precision Detailing LLC. And again, if you want to donate to his epilepsy foundation, to the walk, any of that stuff, we are selling bracelets. I'll just come back to the cam real quick for everybody at the end. If you're not watching, you can look at our Facebooks or any of that stuff and ask us about the bracelets if you do want to watch them. But again, me and Jay Paulson are both wearing them, so we can rise above seizures. So it's a big part of us. And again, Justin Cobalt is a great sponsor, and he's helped us out so much in and out of this podcast. He's always here, and he's always giving me advice and helping me out. And again, his kids are great. They train with us. So again, check out Imperial Training Center again if you want to do any martial arts or any of that stuff. But this has been another rundown on the Prodigy.
The Magic Man.
And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.